Hello, friends. This is Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's February 12th, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. It's information overload, as always. For those interested, looks like Simon's been posting a lot on the X. He sent me a message. So for Bob to know, as far as I know, we're in good standing. It's just he had that medical event, life-changing medical event, and I'll just leave it at that. He's not doing any media, as regular viewers know, and fans of Simon. He was a regular guest on Galloway, on InfoWars, on with Harrison Smith, American Journal, and other shows. A regular guest on Roads to Liberty and a bunch of other shows. Anyway, he's not doing any media at all. So, but he did send me a message. Actually a link to and we'll play the video, but he has been putting out some posts on the X. So he's at least doing that. So you can go to his X feed and get your geopolitical news there. Okay. What did we even say? It's just information overload. What did Coleman say yesterday? Flooding the zone. They are indeed flooding the zone is one way to put it. Information overload. Man, I can't even cover it all. I missed, but we're going to cover some of it. The AI summit. I didn't even know this. It was barely reported. It's over already, but Global AI Governance, AI Action Summit happened in Paris, France. And so we got video of VP Vance there. Of course, working for the technocracy, scientific dictatorship, Peter Thiel and others. The quote, and Musk, essentially. So that's over, but we do have some reporting about it. Kind of flew under the radar, honestly, for me anyway, but I was covering all this other news. Anyway, we got that. We got day 2, or is it day 3? They start at 0. So I guess it's technically day 3 of the Global Governments Summit. We got clips from that. We got where they're talking about was the headline. What did they say by 2050, which is only 25 years from now? Seems like a long time. You know how when you're a kid, like I could think when I was a kid in like the 80s, thinking about even 2000 seemed like forever, right? But the older you get, the faster time goes, it seems, which I believe is true. And so 2025 or 20, we're in 2025 right now. So 2050, 25 years away, not that far. One of the presenters there said by 2025, there'll be 20 million robots, humans. And in the background on that big screen there, they said humans will morph into a hybrid species. So transhumanism, of course, is what they're pushing here. Eugenics, transhumanism. So all of that to cover. What else, man? The government are just fools. How any of these people, swear to God, man. But the majority of the public is out there. Oh, our guy's in there, Trump. So we worship them. And Democrats, they get their guy in there, they worship them. It's just sickening. The government are disgusting pieces of garbage. All of them. Every freaking one of them. Forget. It just makes me mad. I don't want to go on some rant here. We got a lot of news to cover. Our new superhero out of the Avengers, Tulsi Gabbard, is elected has been confirmed as Director of National Intelligence. And so what's that going to do? Is she going to shut down the NSA? Is she going to stop spying on everybody? No. You know what I mean? And so if any of them, they would immediately end unconstitutional spying. It's a violation of our Fourth Amendment. There's rumors, is Trump going to pardon Snowden? I don't know. Doubt it. Maybe. But Trump did get the American an American hostage or prisoner back from Russia. So they're starting the goodwill back and forth, which is good. Which is good, right? We need an end to that Russia-Ukraine war. Of course, unprovoked by U.S., NATO, and Ukraine. It was all Russia, the bad man Putin. But hopefully that can wind down here as their unelected, most democratically president ever in the history of the world, Zelensky's he's killed off a generation of Ukrainians, and he's now mortgaging their natural resources there. What a guy, man. What a guy. What a president. What a leader. So that's good news. If they'll stop killing each other, it'll be good news. What else? This crazy, bald, black woman, what's her name? Presley. We had a video of her. She says, Ayanna Presley says, Democrats are willing to work with anyone who is interested in doing the work of censoring the American people. We have a video of her saying it. Just out of their mind. Like, how are you not automatically denounced by everyone? The government cares about everybody. They care about your rights. They're here they're keeping us safe. Well, then she should automatically be forced to resign in shame for this, for these comments. Violation of our First Amendment. And so the government literally spits in our face, and we're supposed to buy into this whole DOGE is saving us money. I think we have a Tesla just got a bunch of government contracts. It's just trade out one corruption for the other, and now they're really gonna try to lock it down. It looks like there's not even going to be humans to be corrupt. It's going to be all corrupt, run through AI. Really starting to look that way, man. And they're saying it all over the place too. We got old Larry Ellison at the Global Government's 2025 Summit. Clips of him. Tony Blair. Quite sickening. What else we got? More aardvark news. Trump really is going to do the ethnic cleansing program. It's not ethnic cleansing. It's just, we're going to make it real nice, and they just can't be there. What do they call it? They're demilitarizing Gaza, is what they say. All that and a whole lot more on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Too much to even cover. I'm sure I missed a lot. Okay, this day in history. On this day of February 12th, going back to the year 1793, we saw the first U.S. fugitive slave laws passed, requiring the return of escaped slaves. In 1818, Chile gains independence from Spain. In 1855, Michigan State University was established. In 1864, Henry Highland Garnett was the first African-American minister to preach to the U.S. House of Representatives. His talk was about ending slavery. Wouldn't you know? So it does make sense that this is Black History Month, February. In 1873, U.S. Congress passes the Coinage Act of 1873, abolishing bimetallism and placing the country on the gold standard until Nixon took us off it in, 1971. So it lasted almost 100 years, the gold standard here in America. And by the way, the documentary for the end of the show, I don't think we can play the whole thing, but I dug it up. It's hard to find now, but a classic, a true classic, The Money Masters by Bill Still. For those who haven't seen it, and even if you have seen it, it's worth rewatching. But it's like 3.5 hours long or something. How long is it? It's like almost 4 hours long. No, 3.5 hours long. So I think we'll have to break it up into segments because it's freaking long, and it's money and banking. You know what I mean? But it goes over the whole history, and it's like one of the very first, because I'm an economic nerd like that. I have my bachelor's degree in economics, Bachelor of Arts in economics, and a Bachelor of Science degree from California State University, Fresno, in accounting. So anyway, I'm an economics nerd like that. And actually, it was one of the first documentaries I ever watched learning about all this stuff. And it was on, if you guys remember Google Video, way back in the day, Google Video was where I first watched it. And that's long gone. And it's hard to even find this documentary, The Money Masters. I think it was originally produced in like 1999. So anyway, it's very well worth watching. And I think I'm going to break it up into we'll just watch an hour today because it's just too much and too long. So we'll have to carry that on for a couple days here now. And then I'm thinking next week, if Barry's out there, I did get your email, and we'll play your video, your activism video next week. I have one of my own too about, but I got to dig it up on my computer. I know it's here, about confronting the government over geoengineering. Anyway, just got off on that tangent because of the Coinage Act in 1873 on this day. In 1909, the NAACP was formed. The NAACP stands for Advancement of Colored People. In 1915, Hitler received the Iron Cross for bravery from Germany in World War I. In 1921, Soviet troops invade Georgia. In 1934, we saw the Export-Import Bank of the United States form. In 1935, the first secret demonstration of radio signals, quote, radar, to detect aircraft was performed. In 1950, then Senator Joe McCarthy claims to have a list of 250 communist government employees. Imagine the list now of how many communists are in the federal government. Probably all of them, more than half. In 1953, the Soviet Union breaks relationships with Aardvark land. In 1954, the UK government establishes an organization to control atomic energy. In 1959, the Lincoln Memorial design on the back of the U.S. penny goes into circulation, replacing the sheaves and wheat design. So if you have some of those wheat pennies, and I save them still, I have a bunch in a jar somewhere, but I would save my wheat pennies, especially now that Trump has announced no more pennies to go into production, and possibly this year too. But this design right here, the Lincoln Memorial, right? If you guys can see that. And you remember the little wheat pennies? I would save my wheat pennies. Those could be valuable collector items. Anyway, that design of the penny went into circulation on this day in 1959. In 1962, the famous bus boycott started in Macon, Georgia. In 1973, the first U.S. POWs in North Vietnam were released, 456 of them. In 1999, this is 26 years ago, 1999, scientists warned about harmful impacts on health of genetically modified food. So 26 years ago, they were warning about it, and yet now it permeates, if that's even a word. It's all over our food supply now. Thank you to the FDA and other, quote, regulatory agencies. So I try my damnedest to not eat GMO. It's hard though, right? And that kind of goes under the radar now. So don't eat GMO, man. Don't eat genetically modified food if at all possible. In 1999, same year as scientists warned about the harmful health impacts of GMOs, we saw Bill Clinton acquitted by the Senate in his impeachment trial there for I didn't have sex with that woman, right? But they don't impeach him for treason, selling secrets to China, murder him and his wife, on it goes. It had to be a sex scandal, right? And so, and of course today, I guess historic, but not first woman, right? Because we had Avril Haines, I think was the first woman DNI. So now Tulsi Gabbard with her silver streak in her hair, looking like a Avengers comic book character, has been, and I guess that'll be the first video we play, is now the DNI. Former Democrat, now a MAGA. And so what? You're going to end all spying? Doubt it. You're going to end all the Five Eyes? Doubt it. You're going to do what, actually? Keep the whole national security state apparatus going and smelling like a rose? Let's watch a short clip. Tulsi Gabbard confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, violating our Fourth Amendment and basically all of our rights, but specifically Fourth Amendment every millisecond, with every with every bit of metadata every day. Truly appreciated. Tyrannical behavior out of the U.S. intelligence community, as they're called.
All right, we have breaking news now. We have been monitoring while that hearing was going on DOGE. We will get right back to it. But for now, Tulsi Gabbard has enough votes to become the next Director of National Intelligence. This would be the 14th member confirmed of Trump's choices for the cabinet. 6 more to go. I understand that as the count that we are working.
So now we're waiting for Bobby Kennedy and Kash Patel. Are they going to? We still haven't seen anybody arrested, have we? We've seen people fired. We need arrests. What? They got their security clearance pulled. We need arrests. Okay. Mass arrests on all of these people. We'll see. Funny enough, Turtle Mitch in a wheelchair should not be in the Senate. He was the only Republican that voted against Tulsi Gabbard. So he's a till the end, right? To the end. Old Turtle Mitch voted against her for some odd reason there. This guy needs to retire, man. Big time. All right. Here's, like I mentioned earlier, let's watch the clip. This woman needs to retire. How do you serve the people with this attitude?
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. But they are not serious. Serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. But they are not serious.
The hell? Is she a black skinhead neo-Nazi? What the? That's some tyrannical talk right there. Damn, man. That's wild. Old, how do you say her stupid name? Anya Presley? What a tyrant. Damn. Okay, here's reporter Matt Taibbi today in front of the weaponization committee, telling us more about the censorship.
2 years ago, when Michael and I first testified before your Weaponization of Government subcommittee, Democratic members called us so-called journalists, suggested we were bought-off scribes, and questioned our ethics and our loyalties. When we tried to answer, we were told to shut up, take off our tinfoil hats, and remember two things. One, there is no digital censorship, and two, if there is digital censorship, it's for our own good. I was shocked. I thought the whole thing had to be a mistake. There was no way the party that I gave votes to my whole life was now pro-censorship. Then last year, I listened to John Kerry, whom I voted for, talk to the World Economic Forum. Speaking about disinformation, he said, quote, "Our First Amendment stands as a major block to our ability to, quote, hammer it out of existence." He complained that it's really hard to govern because people self-select where they go for their news, which makes it, quote, much harder to build consensus. Now, I defended John Kerry when people said he looks French, but Marie Antoinette would have been embarrassed by this speech. He was essentially complaining that the peasants are self-selecting their own sources of media. What's next, letting them make up their own minds? Lastly, building consensus may be a politician's job, but it's not mine as a citizen or as a journalist. In fact, making it hard to govern is exactly the media's job. The failure to understand this is why we have a censorship problem. This is an Alamo moment for the First Amendment. Most of America's closest allies, as both Rupa and Michael have pointed out, have already adopted draconian speech laws. We are surrounded. The EU's new Digital Services Act is the most comprehensive censorship law ever instituted in a Western democratic society. Ranking Member Raskin, you don't have to go as far as Russia or China to find people jailed for speech. Our allies in England now have an online safety act which empowers the government to jail people for nebulous offenses like false communication or causing psychological harm. Germany, France, Australia, Canada, and other nations have implemented similar ideas. These laws are totally incompatible with our system. Some of our own citizens have been harassed or even arrested in some of these countries, but our government has not stood up for them. Why? Because many of our bureaucrats believe in these laws. Take USAID. Many Americans are now in an uproar because they learned about over $400 million going to an organization called Internews, whose chief, Jeannie Bourgeot, boasted to Congress about training hundreds of thousands of people in journalism, but her views are almost identical to Kerry's. She gave a talk once about building trust and combating misinformation in India during the pandemic. She said that after months of a really beautifully unified COVID-19 message, vaccine enthusiasm rose to 87%. But when, quote, mixed information on vaccine efficacy got out, hesitancy ensued. We're paying this person to train journalists, and she doesn't know that the press does not exist to promote unity or political goals like vaccine enthusiasm. That's propaganda, not journalism. Bourgeot also once said that to fight bad content, we need to work really hard on exclusion lists or inclusion lists and, quote, really need to focus our ad dollars toward what she called the good news. Again, if you don't know, the fastest way to erode trust in media is by having government sponsor exclusion lists. You shouldn't be getting $1 in taxpayer money, let alone 476 million of it. And USAID is just a tiny piece of the censorship machine Michael and I saw across that long list of agencies. Collectively, they've bought up every part of the news production line: sources, think tanks, research, fact-checking, anti-disinformation, commercial media scoring, and when all else fails, straight-up censorship. It is a giant closed messaging loop whose purpose is to transform the free press into exactly that consensus machine. There is no way to remove this rot surgically. The whole mechanism has to go. Is there right-wing misinformation? Hell yes. It exists in every direction. But I grew up a Democrat and don't remember being afraid of it. At the time, we figured we didn't need censorship because we thought we had the better argument. Obviously, many of you lack the same confidence. You took billions of dollars from taxpayers and you blew it on programs whose entire purpose was to tell them they're wrong about things they can see with their own eyes. You sold us out. And until these rather tiresome questions are answered, this problem is not fixed. Thank you.
Yeah, Ruckus says there's something odd about Taibbi. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's might have some disease. I don't know. He is an odd character. Yeah, where the hell's my reparations? They want reparations for slavery? Okay. Where's my reparations for them digitally burning down weaponized news, essentially? And sorry your propaganda didn't work on me. From day one, I said that the whole medical intervention period was BS. Well, I've told the story. I went to the store even before any of this, right? I was the first one at the store wearing a mask and gloves. And I did it one time, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And I did it one time, and then I went outside and sat in my car and said, this is stupid. I'm not doing this, right? And then a week later, everybody was doing it. And I was like, nah, I already did that. I was like, way ahead of you guys. Germaphobe. And I was like, this is stupid. So I admit that one time I did do that. But as far as my reporting goes, everybody could go back and look at it. It's on the only place that didn't censor me, Odyssey. And all my shows there exposing the whole damn thing are all there on Odyssey for the whole world to see. So yeah, I'll never forgive them for what they did. Even look at this. Even sitting U.S. Senator Mike Lee, he says, "Don't trust the government." Well, yeah. Here you go. Just don't trust the government, because they tell him in this post. He says, "Routine reminder: you don't hate the federal government enough." That's coming from a sitting U.S. Senator out of Utah, Mike Lee. That is his account with the official gray check mark, right? And they say, that means I hate you. He says, fair enough. Just don't trust the government. So, hey, touche, Mike Lee. I don't know what else you could say. You know what I mean? It is, and his name is based Mike Lee. That's pretty based. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, don't trust the government, even if your quote guy is in there. Solar Report, Catherine Austin Fitz banging away here with the truth. She says, actually, well, first let me pull it up here. And Cheryl Atkins as well. A lot of respect for her. Like literally one of the only quote mainstream journalists that has, as far as I could tell, stayed pretty damn true and honest to the game about bringing the public the truth. But the government spied on her. I think I remember her saying that they broke into her computers. I think they put child porn on her husband's computer, had people stalking her, all this kind of stuff, harassing her. But so I have a lot of respect for both these women, actually, but especially, well, both of them. But Cheryl Atkinson as a big time reporter, got fired from CBS, right? Anyway, she says, I've covered this for years and I'm not alone. It's mind boggling, even for a journalist who's seen a lot of Washington waste, fraud, and abuse, particularly the nonchalant with which the system seems to accept it and factor it in as a part of the program and expenses. And she was replying to Musk, where he said, at this point, I am 100% certain that the magnitude of fraud in the federal entitlement, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, welfare, disabilities, etc., exceeds the combined sum of every private scam you've ever heard of by far. It's not even close. And then Solar Report responded, actually, 20 trillion with a T missing at DOD and 100 trillion missing at HUD is bigger. Damn. Damn. So it's basically infinity, right? When you get into the trillions, let's just say infinity. I mean, Jesus. And I'm over here, me and Ruckus are over here eating our freaking survival canned beans. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the? It just pisses me off to no end. I'm sure it does you guys too, man. I'm sure it pisses off most Americans that are taxpayers that are not out here running scams, stealing from people, and breaking the law with impunity. If any of us did that, we're going to jail for life. You know what I mean? They do it, and they literally laugh and spit in our face and tell us more. It's so maddening. More from Solar Report says, oh yeah, and why doesn't DOGE, I think I'm getting there in my story. Yeah. Quickly though, one more from Solar Report. How come there is no effort to prune the corporate contracts, DOGE? And we'll get to a Tesla contract they just got here later. But that is approximately half the federal labor force, more than half the waste. So yeah, why is there no audit of the contracts? Yeah, and we're running out of freaking canned beans. Damn it. Some bullshit, man. So yeah, this is stepped outside today, outside the office, and looked up in the sky, and lo and behold, what do I see? This is in Fresno, California. I put Clovis, but it was actually Fresno. I don't know. This is like 10 miles from Clovis, whatever, man. Anyway, where is the audit? And I tagged DOGE, audit geoengineering programs, DOGE. Because this is the bullshit that we see all the time here in the Central Valley of California. Look at that. Well, those are just normal contrails. Really? No, this is the Solar Radiation Management Program is what this is. And it needs to stop. So audit that. Audit the, like Solar Report says, audit the corporate contracts. And then I saw people talking about it today. Where's the audit of old APAC and all the foreign money that's going to Congress? Where's that audit at? It's a mystery. It's an aardvark mystery. So while what they're doing is all well and good, there's still a lot. We're barely at the first little layer. You know, when you go to peel an onion and you get like that first little very thin skin, we're barely at that little the Bible paper thin skin on an onion. We're barely right there as peeling this whole thing apart. If we'll ever get to the bottom of it, we never will. There's too many vested interests still in power that are benefiting. Okay, here is a piece of crap, and a lot of pieces of crap are being exposed, which is good. It had to be done, but this guy should be arrested for treason. Former head of policy for USAID, John Bolton, shows off his USAID hand grenade gifted to him as a farewell present. Let's watch this short video. And this piece of shit, John Bolton. How many dead U.S. service members are on this guy's soul? You know what I'm saying?
I might say I've got some personal experience here. I was in charge of policy and budget at USAID during the Reagan administration when we undertook a major effort to fix it. And I'm going to show you my farewell present from AID. You can see it's a hand grenade, and it says on it, John R. Bolton, truest Reagan audit, AID 1983. This is a style of government, and that's the way we approached it.
Well, hang on.
Yeah, that guy wants to blow up the world. What a piece of shit John Bolton is. And Rugged says audit Fort Knox. Yeah, I doubt there's anything there. Remember all the gold underneath in the World Trade Center that mysteriously disappeared? Remember all that? Yeah, audit the gold. That would be nice. Let's have a full accounting. And I forget who said this. Was it? I think it may have been, I don't even know. Anyway, some accountant, CPA, had said at one time that, hey, your tax return is a full accounting of your financial year that you have to provide to the government every year. We deserve a financial statement back from the government with line item by line item how they're spending our tax money. It's only fair. It's only fair, man. And so we need, as long as we have to keep paying taxes, I want a financial statement back from the government telling me exactly where every freaking penny, even if Trump got rid of the pennies, where every freaking penny of my money went. And then if I disagree with it, then I have some concrete, a freaking document to take and shove in their freaking face, and I'll go to the right damn department to protest. You know what I'm saying? I'll take the paperwork, but no, because they know. But that's what we deserve by all rights. If we had any, I mean, that's what the government is saying, criminal scum. Give us a damn financial statement back with line items down to the penny about where the hell our tax money's going. And we'll figure out a more efficient way to build the damn roads. In honor of DOGE. More from Slaughter Report. Let's put this up. They're on one today, so I thought it was pretty good stuff. Audit John Bolton, yeah. How many, you know what I mean? Audit his hard drive. What kind of freaking sick freak is John Bolton? Imagine the snuff films and other illegal stuff, the torture films on that guy's hard drive. You know what I'm saying? And audit him financially as well. How much money has John Bolton stolen from the people? I know who definitely won't get audited, Elon Musk. Probably not. The goal is to attract people into a new digital control grid where they have many less legal protections and their transactions and assets can be controlled with a social credit system. If federal and state governments can be bribed and tricked into mandating purchases, then it can also be used with unlimited issuance to grab land. Gaza, particularly if combined with government privatization, those say eminent domain and extreme weather warfare. Yeah, it's too dangerous for you to live there. I'm sorry. Your land is now seized by the government for your own safety, of course. It is as ugly a picture as it gets, but we can do something about it if we see the play. Step one is to initiate the divine as we decline to finance and support the people who intend to control and kill us. Can Trump make Bitcoin useful? They're referencing their article there. I think that pretty much says where we're heading here. And more evidence of such things. The connection between the U.S. PayPal mafia, Musk deal, etc., and South Africa.
Germany, but brought to South Africa as a young child. His father was a mining engineer, lived in Johannesburg, and then moved to Southwest Africa, which was then a South African colony, is now Namibia. And he went to school in Swakopmund, which was notorious as probably the last place on the planet where people still openly greeted each other with Heil Hitler and celebrated Hitler's birthday. He went to a German school there. Before moving to the United States when he was 10 or 11. You've got David Sachs, who was born in Cape Town. He's big in PayPal and is now Trump's AI and crypto czar. He moved to Tennessee as a relatively young child, but grew up in the white South African diaspora there. And you've got Roelof Botha, the grandson of Pik Botha, the last foreign minister of apartheid South Africa. He was the acceptable face of apartheid. You'll remember he used to run around the United States trying to put a gloss on how they were reforming things and that everything was getting better. So you see those four key people at the top of PayPal, and they all have this, very intimate connection to South Africa.
Yeah, sorry about the audio there. I'm used to having Simon on the other line, and you used to have to mute the share screen or we get that feedback, but I guess it doesn't do it for me as being the main administrative account. So apologies, but they just basically said, and it had subtitles. The guy said at the beginning that, Musk's grandfather was the head of technocracy out of Canada. I think we all know that by now. But he said, he just moved back to South Africa to be a racist in an apartheid state. I think it's a lot deeper than that, but kind of glossed over in that report. Okay, on to, this is our AI, our bright future section here. Let's hear figure AI investor Chris Camilio talks about how fast humanoid robots are advancing. And then we got a clip of humanoid robots at Gear Lab replicate movements of world-class athletes, of world-class soccer players and basketball players. We'll play that clip after this one. And so Terminator was a documentary. Skynet, and here we go.
But these bot companies right now, it would blow your mind how advanced they are and how quickly they're moving. Like every month, it would literally melt your mind. Like the things that I've seen, like it's wild how quickly they're moving. And I haven't even seen everything yet. But they will be doing commercial work next year. There will be humanoid robots in 2025 in factory settings doing physical labor jobs next year in small batches. There's a lot of learning, a lot of edge cases, right? So they'll be working in controlled settings. We're going to try to get them up to human speed, right? Because right now they're not fully at human speed. But I think people in this sector are adamant that they can get up to about 120 to 150% of human speed eventually.
And they wouldn't have like 9 to 5 work hours either.
No.
Right?
They'll be working 23 plus hours a day. So the batteries last about 4 hours. In some cases, they're hot swappable. In other cases, they're rechargeable. I mean, there's a lot of different approaches, and different companies are taking different approaches. And that part's not even that important. But they'll be able to work 23 hours a day. Yes.
You have robots hot swap the battery.
They will be. No, they will be. No, they will be. They 100%. That's already going to happen. But again, the humans, if any humans were to get to this place, they're going to be doing better things that are probably making more money than they make currently. So, but this is happening, guys. It's not happening like right this second, but we're not talking about 10, 15 years away. When Elon says something, I don't believe it, but it might be true, but I don't assume it's true. But all this talk that if you read between the lines, the stuff Elon's been saying about humanoids, it's not fully true, but it's kind of true.
Here's some of those humanoids looking very athletic, honestly. Let's take a look here. What do they say? Humanoid robots at the Gear Lab replicate the movements of Rolando, soccer player, I don't know, LeBron James and Kobe Bryant in real time. This model merges simulation with real world data, bridging the gap between simulated and human-like motion. There's no audio on this, by the way. There, Ruckus, thank you for letting me know about my bad audio problems on that last clip. But you have had 75. So damn it, Barry. You can do better. We're almost there. No more pennies. No more pennies. So imagine these things hunting you down, man. I don't know if these humanoids are more scary than that one ball. Remember that ball? Okay, here is, in honor of, I missed the report, but it's only a day old. President Macron, he put out this video for the AI Action Summit that happened in the last 2 days. Warning about the dangers of AI deepfakes. Let's watch this, where President Macron shares a video of himself doing AI to hype up the AI show in Paris. He says France is gonna drop 109 billion euros into AI in the coming years. I think this is a parody, honestly. Somebody made. I don't think this is him. Could have been, though, but I think it's pretty funny. Anyway, however you may see it, warning, this may be a parody.
Je fais cette petite vidéo pour essayer de vous remonter le moral.
C'est quand même une dinguerie, tu vois.
Mon Dieu.
Prends ensuite tous les cheveux qui restent sur le côté droit.
La techno a une culture à part entière.
On est attaché à la bagnole. On aime la bagnole. Et moi, je l'adore.
Et tu voudrais qu'elle soit en haine ce soir. De luxe, n'hésite pas à t'abonner pour plus de vidéos.
Bisous mes petits loups.
Bien joué. C'est assez bien fait, ça m'a plutôt fait rire. Mais plus sérieusement, avec l'intelligence artificielle, on peut faire de très grandes choses. Changer la santé, l'énergie, la vie dans notre société. Et donc la France et l'Europe doivent être au cœur de cette révolution pour saisir toutes leurs chances et pour pousser aussi les principes qui sont les nôtres, ceux en quoi nous croyons. C'est le but de ce sommet pour l'action sur l'intelligence artificielle. C'est dès demain à Paris. Alors je compte sur vous. Ok, là c'est bien moi.
I don't think he put that out. Maybe he did. I don't know. I remember when he first was elected, I did a report. He declared himself the Sun King. So he's pretty damn crazy. Rothschild banker, probably under trauma-based mind control. So he may have put that out. But let's just say it's satire anyway, to be safe, to not spread misinformation out there on the interwebs, because God forbid that we would do such a thing here at Weaponized News. Allegedly, Macron really did this. I had to vet this one earlier because I was skeptical. Well, there you go. I'll take Ruckus' word for it. So I guess it was legitimate. We'll still say it was satire, though. So, see, Macron has a sense of humor after all. Okay, global AI governance. Let's read it right from our AI overlord's own publication here. Here we go. So right there, AI Action Summit, a global AI governance, not government, governance, and because there's a big difference there, right? For the AI revolution to mean progress for everyone, it is essential to design and collect an inclusive government architecture to address all the challenges of the technology, said Henry Verderier, Summit Envoy for Global Governance of AI. The global governance framework for artificial intelligence is currently piecemeal. Some countries and regional organizations like the European Union have established their own regulatory framework autonomously. At international level, however, there is no unified governance, even if many actors are and must be involved. As artificial intelligence rises all sorts of questions, including safety, ethics, environmental impact, access, competition, cultural diversity, data protection, interoperability of standards, military use, integrity of information, open technical standards, and actor sovereignty. However, in the absence of coordination, multiple parallel initiatives have been launched in very different formats, like the G7 Hiroshima AI process and the Bletchley Park in 2023, and the Tech Accord to Combat Deceptive Use of AI in 2024. Elections that was signed by companies alone in Munich in February 2024. This creates a complex landscape that is often insufficiently inclusive, and where frameworks sometimes compete in this context, the accountability of artificial intelligence actors is upheld very strictly in terms of the commitments demanded of them, and at the same time, very loosely due to the lack of content control institutions. Meanwhile, various norms coexist depending on the regions concerned, which penalizes smaller actors that are less well equipped to navigate between legal systems, echoing the vision for more inclusive and effective governance of artificial intelligence promoted by the Global Digital Compact, which now needs to be established tangentially. The primary aim of the summit is in this area is to clarify and design a shared effective governance framework with all relevant actors so that science, solutions, and standards are better shared. Inclusiveness is the watchword. Today, only 7 countries worldwide are participating, while 119 are totally absent from them. Moreover, private actors and civil society need to be fully included in this governance, which must be restricted to public authorities, which must not be restricted to public authorities alone. Almost done. As such, the chosen approach is a collective one involving many consultations with various stakeholders from across the world. The aim is clear: to build a consensus on the global governance framework for artificial intelligence and for all parties, with 70 partners, including states, international organizations, businesses, and civil society representatives. The aim is to survey the artificial intelligence governance system needs, actors, fundamental principles, limits, and room for progress. One single governance initiative is not the answer. Rather, existing initiatives like the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, GPAI, that will meet in an expanded format on, of course, this meeting February 9th to agree on new action plan for 2025, need to be coordinated to build a global multi-stakeholder consensus around an inclusive and effective governance system for AI. So It's coming. It's coming. We're at the beginning of it. I got to find the, what do they say here? The action plan. I got to find the action plan here. I missed that part, preparing. We have JD Vance at it. We're almost at the hour mark here. Halftime indeed, Barry. Let's do the live commercial break as we've gone an hour, almost an hour here. And thank you to everyone who has helped us here at Weaponized News as we're trying to become monetized. And I see our subscribership is growing a little bit. So thank you everybody on the other channels, or if you ran across us by accident, however you may have found Weaponized News, thank you for subscribing and your support on the YouTube channel. So our initiative, our campaign is, and we're at 512 subscribers now. So we're trying to become monetized for whatever that's worth. Probably not much, but hey, I'm optimistic about the AI future taking my job. So maybe I can make AI videos on YouTube and earn a living. I doubt it, but you know what I'm saying? We do what we can when the beans run out. But we need more hours viewed here, and we're almost there, guys. And thank you everybody for helping us out along the way. Here we are for full transparency. We're at 2,661 hours viewed, and we need 3,000. You can see right there to reach the threshold for monetization on YouTube. And so we've surpassed the 500 subscribers. We have more than 3 videos uploaded in the last 90 days. Now we just need this 3,000 hours, and we're almost there. And so to be conservative, I'll say we have 140 days left to get, we're under 4, we need like 340 hours left. So I have no doubt in my mind we'll make it with your help. And so the easiest way to help us rack up these viewing hours is go to Weaponized News YouTube. Of course, subscribe, scroll to the bottom. You can watch any of the live streams as well here. But the playlist that we put together is 12 documentaries here about the new World Order from the Russian and Chinese perspective. And we've got BRICS documentary in there. We've got the Aardvark genocide documented by the UN. We've got the new nuclear doctrine from the United States and Russia in there. And so get learned up on those topics as we enter the new world order, the multipolar world, the new era. Things are changing here fast. Creating a multipolar world. We have that documentary in there as well as the Greater Eurasian Partnership. Aligning Russia and China is coming into full view here now. And so a lot for the United States hegemon to contend with. And so all of that is developing at a rapid pace now. And so you can get learned up on these geopolitical topics here by watching these 12 documentaries. And if you've already seen them, push play, mute, and walk away and help us get those hours needed as described in this campaign to become monetized on YouTube. Thank you very much for the reminder there, Barry. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody subscribing and helping us reach this goal. Okay. Should we play a little of this? I don't know. Here, just to document it a little bit, 15-minute speech by J.D. Vance at the AI Action Summit. We're not going to play the whole thing, but let's play a couple minutes of it, see what old J.D. Vance, our vice president, has to say, and underling of Peter Thiel. And, yeah, well, we know why Trump chose him as an underling of Musk, too.
The kind introduction, and I want to start by thanking President Macron for hosting the event and, of course, for the lovely dinner last night. During the dinner, President Macron looked at me and asked if I would like to speak, and I said, Mr. President, I'm here for the good company and free wine, but I have to earn my keep today. And I, of course, want to thank Prime Minister Modi for being here and for co-hosting the summit, for all of you for participating. And I'm not here this morning to talk about AI safety, which was the title of the conference a couple of years ago. I'm here to talk about AI opportunity. When conferences like this convene to discuss a cutting-edge technology, oftentimes I think our response is to be too self-conscious, too risk-averse. But never have I encountered a breakthrough in tech that so clearly calls us to do precisely the opposite. Now, our administration, the Trump administration, believes that AI will have countless revolutionary applications in economic innovation, job creation, national security, healthcare, free expression, and beyond. And to restrict its development now will not only unfairly benefit incumbents in the space, it would mean paralyzing one of the most promising technologies we have seen in generations. Now, with that in mind, I'd like to make 4 main points today. Number 1, this administration will ensure that American AI technology continues to be the gold standard worldwide, and we are the partner of choice for others, foreign countries, and certainly businesses as they expand their own use of AI. Number 2, we believe that excessive regulation of the AI sector could kill a transformative industry just as it's taking off, and will make every effort to encourage pro-growth AI policies. And I like to see that deregulatory flavor making its way into a lot of the conversations this conference. Number 3, we feel very strongly that AI must remain free from ideological bias, and that American AI will not be co-opted into a tool for authoritarian censorship. And finally, number 4, the Trump administration will maintain a pro-worker growth path for AI, so it can be a potent tool for job creation in the United States. And I appreciate Prime Minister Modi's point. AI, I really believe, will facilitate and make people more productive. It is not going to replace human beings. It will never replace human beings. And I think too many of the leaders in the AI industry, when they talk about this fear of replacing workers, I think they really miss the point. AI, we believe, is going to make us more productive, more prosperous, and more free. The United States of America is the leader in AI, and our administration plans.
I can speak from personal experience using it. I use some AI. The intro song is AI for the show. I use AI in my accounting work, and they tell me there that a lot of the work's going to be gone because you're just going to scan it and it's going to know everything. And so, like right now, we're training the AI to take our jobs, as they in the past have trained foreign workers to take their jobs. I'm sure everybody's heard those stories. So we're training the foreign AI, and it is the next fake pandemic. It is the next pandemic. Yeah, it makes me sick. But it does increase what he's saying there. It does increase. I can talk from firsthand experience. It does increase your efficiency in accounting by a lot. And you still have to check what it does. It makes mistakes. It makes quite a few mistakes, actually, because it's only as smart as it's programmed to be, right? So, but you're training it. You're training it the whole time that you're working with it, and so it remembers. I don't even know if that's really AI, but it's automation for sure. And you're training it the whole time when you're working with it, specifically doing accounting work, bookkeeping work. What is you hit? Barry says you hit 111 if you have a weaponized news video running on your. Yeah. Damn. Trying to help with your social credit score. Help out weaponized news. Indeed, there, Barry. Thank you for that. It will help your social credit score because we're backing up Peter Thiel's lackey, there, our vice president, Vance, and it will not replace humans until the Terminator documentary and Skynet go fully live. But for now, we're just training it to enslave us. So see, it's all good. It's all good. And then don't forget, the overarching, sitting on top of all of this, is the Malthusian belief that the elites have that the planet is overpopulated. So they always leave that part out. I wonder why. They always leave that part out. Oh yeah, it's here to help make you more efficient. And by the way, we don't believe any of you should even be here in the first place, even before AI. And now we gotta now we're ready to go ahead and replace you. And so we already knew we didn't want you around. And so now the only reason we kept you around because we needed some slaves. And now we don't even need slaves. So yeah. It's not going to be pretty. Massey, one of the only good ones. Maybe we could halfway trust him. We got a clip of him. The federal automobile kill switch mandate is Orwellian and threatens civil liberties. Let's watch this clip from Massey today, talking about the kill switch. Another thing, we're going to have to keep using pennies, paper money, and don't have your car connected to the internet. We're going to have friggin' 55 Chevys or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I have an old Chevy pickup and an old Honda, and they're not hooked to the internet at all. And I like it that way. And I'm going to keep those cars as long as possible. I'll go dig up an old car. And because I'm not hooking my car to the internet, man, I'm just not doing it. And so everybody could fight this way, you know what I mean? But the modern conveniences are just too nice, and people have just like for example, I see people that every transaction they do is on a card, and it's all run through. It's all run through all the big banks and big credit card companies. I'm like, how you're not paranoid at all, man? You know what I mean? I don't tell them that, but some people I do. If I feel like I'm have a good enough relationship with them to feel comfortable telling them that, I'm like, hey, they're literally everything's right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, not good, and so. But the ease of convenience allows for this to automate us out of a job here. Okay, here's Massey trying to do the right thing, warning about the Orwellian automobile kill switch mandate that must be repealed.
Mr. Hansen, I once had a mentor who told me that hope is not a business plan. I would also say it's not a good technology development plan. In your testimony, you noted that the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires NHTSA to complete rulemaking for advanced impaired driving technology, aka automotive kill switch, by November of last year, a deadline that the agency has not met. I made a prediction in front of this committee, and I'm going to make it again today, that this won't be ready by 2026. Congress has asked the impossible. It's a wish. It's not a plan. Are you aware that Ann Carlson, the former acting administrator of NHTSA, sat in front of this subcommittee and said, I think it's safe to say that we do not think they are available yet in a way that actually will achieve the goals both of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Vehicle Safety Act. Did you hear her make that comment?
Mr. Chair, members, I don't remember that specific comment, sir.
So are you aware that the technology that you are advocating for in your testimony does not exist?
NHTSA released their early rulemaking process in March of 2024. There was a deadline in late 2024 for them to have a proposal ready to go, and that has gone by or expired. NHTSA has also been working with the DDADS program since about 2008, which is the early precursor for the HALT Act, or that the technology in car that would prevent an impaired driver from operating that vehicle. My understanding is that DDAD's project is now ready to go and could be implemented in 2025. And the OEMs have been involved in the development of that.
Well, before airbags were mandated and before seat belts were mandated, they both existed in commercial vehicles for over a decade. Does this technology exist in any commercial vehicle presently?
I'm not aware of it being, Mr. Chair and members, I'm not aware of it being available or mandated in any vehicle type now, but I would compare it to ignition interlock. That type of technology is there in one shape, form, or another.
Well, the difference between the ignition interlock and this technology you're advocating for is the one you're advocating for is science fiction presently. It doesn't exist in any vehicle. It's never been implemented. And there's a mandate by the government to have it in every new vehicle within 2 years. It's just not practical. What's more is if you did try to implement it, there would be false positives. So what we're talking about here is a kill switch in an automobile that would monitor the driving of a vehicle and then stop the vehicle from operating if the car itself decides that the operator is not driving safely. Let's say a mother is driving a vehicle, taking her kids to work, and how does she appeal her conviction of a disabled minivan from the side of a road? How would you re-enable a car that's been disabled with this technology you're advocating for?
It's a good question, sir, Mr. Chair, members. Good question, and I'm not quite sure that I'm qualified to provide the technical answer that you're looking for there. I do understand that the technology is very near to being developed that would allow for a passive type of system that would detect when a driver has an alcohol concentration above a predetermined level, and that would not allow the vehicle to be operated.
Well, the problem with the technology is it's not looking for alcohol levels. You can monitor blood alcohol levels, at least if somebody's breathing into something. That's not what this technology promises to do. In fact, it says it's going to passively monitor driver performance. What does that mean?
Mr. Chair and members, my understanding is that it doesn't require any active participation by the driver, like an ignition interlock system would. It simply is a system that exists within the vehicle platform that would detect when a driver has a predetermined alcohol concentration or is above that predetermined alcohol concentration. So this is primarily focusing on preventing an impaired driving incident from happening before it does.
The specification hopes to do that, but the technology does not exist. It simply doesn't exist. And what's more is if it did exist, there's some cost associated with developing it. Maybe an autonomous vehicle could perform this, but what does an autonomous vehicle cost? And whenever we're looking at safety, as an engineer, what you need to look at is where's your bang for the buck? If this system, assuming it could exist, costs $5,000, you can't simply mandate it and say you're going to improve safety because the price of the vehicle can't go up $5,000. You're going to compromise somewhere else, maybe less metal in the frame or something. So I think it's foolhardy for you to sit here and testify that we need to have this technology available on this timeline because it simply does not exist. We don't know the cost. We don't know how it works. And there would be false positives that could put the public at danger. And with that, I yield back.
Yeah, imagine you're driving and your kids are in the back fighting and you're like, shut up. Calm down. Stop hitting your brother like this. Your car, it's going to kill your car. And then imagine if I do a weaponized news show and I start saying, F the government, John Bolton's a traitor, put them all in prison. You know what I'm saying? My social credit score is going to 0, even lower than Barry's. And they're going to kill my car and I can't go to work. I can't even go anywhere because my car's dead. So, but yeah, of course, don't drink and drive. I mean, but of course they're going to use that as the excuse. Okay. Barry says, I appreciate all the people in this weaponized news family. helping me and encouraging me personally through hard times. Well, bless your heart, Barry, and thank you for helping us. And I guess we have, that's what they say, build an online community. I guess we have tried to build a little one here. So thank you for everybody in the chats that are chatting it up and being cordial and making new friends online. And so we do appreciate it here at Weaponized News. Everybody in the chat, and I guess we call it Weaponized News Community. We need to come up with some type of name. Weaponized News something community. I don't know. I thought about that for branding. Anyway, continuing here, we still have a lot more to get to. Our AI future so bright. Oh, by the way, this is from this is the one from Simon. And he mentions, hey, they're saying by the year 2050, we're going to have 20 million robots. But I noticed in the background right here, and that's what the title, one of the titles of the show was. Let's watch this clip. This guy's speaking whatever, Arabic, I think. But they have subtitles, and I'll pause it when we can see the big screen behind them. This is from the World Governments Summit 2025.
في عام 2050 سيخدم البشر أكثر من 20 مليار روبوت.
So by 2050, humans will be served by more than 20 billion, I said million, excuse me, billion with a B, robots.
فما تأثير ذلك على نمط حياتنا اجتماعيا ونفسيا وعلى أسواق عملنا وكذلك على مستقبل المهارات. في عام 2050 بفضل
Right there, see that in the background there? In 2050, humans will morph into hybrid species, biological and artificial. That's transhumanism right there.
تقنيات تعزيز القدرات ستتغير إمكانات البشر عقليا وجسديا، وقد تصبح كائنات ذات قدرات تقنية وبيولوجية خارقة. بعد 25 عاما من الآن سيصل عدد سكان العالم إلى 10 مليارات نسمة. فكيف سيؤثر ذلك على سوق العمل؟
By 2050, the global population will reach 10 billion. Well, not if the Malthusians have their way. It won't.
والاستهلاك. بعد 25 عاما سيكون الفضاء جزءا رئيسيا من حياتنا واستثماراتنا وكذلك مواردنا، حيث يتوقع أن يصل اقتصاد الفضاء إلى 4 تريليون دولار. كيف سيكون شكل التعليم في عام 2050؟ هل سنحتاج إلى 12 عاما دراسيا؟ هل نحتاج إلى جامعات؟ أم سيكون الذكاء الاصطناعي بروفيسورا خاصا لكل شخص؟ ستصل البشرية في الذكاء والكفاءة والإنتاجية إلى مستويات قد نظنها خيالية، وأرجو أن ينعكس ذلك كذلك على حكمة البشر.
Yeah, so 2050 is not that long. 25 years, maybe I'll still be alive. I hope my kids are still alive. Transhumans, they're saying it right there. We don't have to go along with their program. They're a dark occultist, evil bastards. We can and should. It doesn't seem like the majority are or will rebuke their programs here now, but we easily could, as us that are not in their club, which is the very large majority of us. But there is no great awakening. Sorry for that doomer news for everybody, but look around, man. Look around in the general public. Okay, yeah, weaponized news hounds, maybe weaponized news hounds. Ruckus says, Barry said he'll help figure out maybe weaponized news hounds. I kind of like that. and do a dog that's biting the DOGE dog. That would be pretty funny. Does the map behind you say Gulf of? There's Louis Marinelli. I haven't seen him for a while. No, it doesn't, Louis. And I actually asked for a refund from the federal government because I have to, it says Gulf of Mexico right there. I know you guys can't see it, but believe me, it does. And I asked the federal government for a refund on all my maps and atlases for that fact because they changed it to Gulf of America. So, but yeah, indeed. And they're still messing up here. And so they need a better editor or something over there at the Global Governments Forum because they slipped up right here and they said Global Government Excellence Award 2025. They missed the S here. So they need a better editor at the UAE that's handing out such awards for Global Government Excellence Award. Lieutenant General H.H. Sheikh Saif bin Zayed Al Nayed. Damn, that guy's got a lot of names. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Interior honors winners of the Global Government Excellence Awards in its third edition during the World Governments Summit. So, yeah, what an award. Should be proud of yourself there. Makes me want to throw up. Okay, here's the other one that I shared with Ruckus when I saw it, but we'll just play it for because we are noticing such things as the old 33 here. Here is H.E. Kristalina Genevieve, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, announces $33 billion in funding to the MEA region and the focus on fostering entrepreneurship and growth through the creation of the IMF Advisory Council. And so have fun going into debt with the IMF. But of course, the 33 here, again, signaling somebody in their cult, or all of them possibly.
We are very committed to the Middle East and North Africa region. We have approved about $33 billion in financing for the region, most recently in 2024 to help mitigate the impact of conflict. And we have also reformed our surcharge policy, resulting in significant savings to some countries. We are creating a new IMF Advisory Council on Entrepreneurship and Growth, and I can assure you this region will be represented in it. I'm now going to experiment whether I would say it correct. Linabda al-Amal. Did I get it? Let us start the work together. Shukran.
But the problem is the underlying fundamentals of the whole system is a fraud. It's fiat debt based. And so, wow, you waive the fees. That's good of you. Another part of the scam. And so they waive the fees, but the debt part of it and it being fiat is the fundamental problem with their whole global monetary system here now. That will be explained in great detail and the history behind it in the documentary at the end of the show, The Money Masters. Continuing here's some quick clips from that same conference. Here's your friend and mine, Mr. Stargate, Larry Ellison, CEO or CFO, one of them, an executive at Oracle. Oracle founder, Larry Ellison. Some say CIA asset. Let's watch him addressing the World Governments Summit 2025.
If you want to improve population health. You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data. And in the Middle East, in the UAE, for example, they're incredibly rich in data. They have a lot of population data. The NHS in the UK has an incredible amount of population data, but it's fragmented. It's not easily accessible by these AI models. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform. So we provide context. When we want to ask a question, we've provided that AI model with all the data they need to understand our country. So that's the big step. That's kind of the missing link. We need to unify all of the national data, put it into a database where it's easily consumable by the AI model, and then ask whatever question you like.
That sounds fun. A centralized database of all of our data, especially health data. That would never be abused by authoritarian Malthusian depopulationists, would it? Nah. You can trust Larry Ellison and the rest of them. It's actually quite frightening. But what do I know? More from Larry Ellison. He's the billionaire that's launching Operation Stargate that's going to cure cancer on an individual basis. Remember that? And create a miracle for you in 48 hours. Remember that press conference he had with Trump at the White House a week ago? Something like this. And so who am I to question any of this? And then, of course, war criminal here, Tony Blair. And Larry Ellison.
Well, what's the importance of having that basic digital infrastructure in place? Cloud services, data centers, digital identity. How important are these things to put in place so that the rest of the system works effectively?
Well, I think one of the most important things is not to put the digital infrastructure in place and make sure it is secure. And often it needs to be sovereign. So I think countries are very uncomfortable with keeping their data in other countries' data centers. So I think part of our essential infrastructure, just like airports obviously need to be in our country, or they're not terribly useful. Ports need to be in our country, and they're not terribly useful. Data centers, because of the privacy requirements around the data, need to be in our countries, or they're not terribly useful. They need to be in our countries, but they also need to be secure. And there are new technologies right now. This is the last year you will ever log on to an Oracle system with a password. Next, by the middle of this year, I'm quite certain you are Tony Blair. So how do I know? Well, I look at you, I hear your voice, I listen to the kind of questions you ask. I'm pretty sure you're not synthetically created in having this conversation. The security system, we have biometric logins. The computer recognizes you. It recognizes your voice. It might ask you to put your index finger on the return key. And we're absolutely certain it's you. There's no reason to enter a password. In fact, passwords are too easily stolen. Data centers and data is being taken hostage all over the world. The ransomware business is a very, very good business. It's getting bigger and better every year. We tend not to talk about it because the American FBI has a simple advice to someone whose data has been ransomed. Just pay them because there's nothing we can do about it.
But we don't negotiate with terrorists. Haven't we all seen those sci-fi movies where they just cut your thumb off and put it on there, pluck out your eyeball, scan it? I don't know, Larry Ellison. I have a hard time trusting you. Denver's saying that his first contract ever was with the CIA. And that, what else did he say? Oracle takes its name from a 1977 CIA project code name, and that the CIA was Oracle's first customer. Probably. I haven't looked into it, but I trust Denver on that. Why not? Here's the last one from Ellison. And do we have one more? I think we have a couple more. Here's one more from Larry Ellison and war criminal Tony Blair.
You know, these AI models are trained primarily by data that's publicly available on the internet. And there's a lot of climate data that's publicly available on the internet. But most certainly your national health records aren't available on the internet. That stuff is not available. But that's very precious, very, very precious for your data, for your country, because you're using that data to improve population health and get better outcomes for individual citizens. So all of that data, and right now countries' data is fragmented. The problem is it's not like go to this database and here's all the data about my country. It's go to this 3,000 databases and here's all the information about my country. So but we know how to do that. You can pipe this data from these 3,000 separate data sources into a single unified database, and that's what we need to do. We need to layer on top of all of this fragmented data that we have about all this information we have about our country. And we need to take that and unify that into a single database. So when we ask questions, the data model has all the information it needs to answer the question, discover the insight, and recommend an action.
Denver says, weird how nobody's drawing this connection. Nobody but me. Anyways. Well, thank you, Denver. And what did you say? Denver also tells us, you mean centralize everything just like the rest of the world? No, we don't want centralization. I don't want my data. And you're telling me they're not going to hack it? Okay, let me just say, okay, I believe it can never be hacked. Of course it can. But let's just say the greatest encryption with super quantum computers that are friggin' stationed on Mars with friggin' cats running them, right? And so the most secure thing the world's ever known cannot be hacked. Do we trust the guys running it, the NSA? Can we trust them now? They lied to us for all these years, and it's come out, that they are indeed collecting everybody's data and storing it for one, to be used against you at their time of choosing. And so we know all your data's already been hacked. And so for them to try to make the claim that some centralized database in a data center controlled by Larry Ellison is going to keep everybody safe and happy is just BS, man. Total BS. Sorry to say. And that's the problem with the cloud, right? Do you trust your data on somebody else's machine? Because now they own your data. Just saying. All this softwares, man. All these softwares you're not allowed to buy and own the software anymore. You have to access it through the internet and pay a subscription. That's the whole new business model. Every freaking company's doing it. And you don't own any of your own data even anymore here now. I think we got one more clip. That one kind of overran, but another clip from Larry Ellison, then we'll wrap up with him.
We are busily trying to design a next generation of rice that grows in salt water. We are busily trying to design the next generation of maize that fixes nitrogen from the atmosphere so the maize will not require fertilizer. Fertilizer has a number of problems, one of which certain farmers in certain countries can't afford it. So we'll be able to lower the cost of growing, increase yields by having a whole new generation of seeds for wheat, for corn, for rice, that will really provide food security for the planet, at least for the next few generations.
He's gonna feed the hungry, cure cancer, store all our data. Jeez. Yeah, if maybe maybe Larry Ellison is the black monolith. He should get one tattooed on his head. Or that stupid square. I always forget the name of it. The square within the square. And what's that behind him? Is that even? And he's like, that's the real Tony Blair. Really? How do we know it's not a drone clone robot Tony Blair up there? Why is Tony Blair allowed to walk around in public and be praised at this meeting? You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Yeah, I don't trust Larry Ellison in charge of anything. Okay, we're waiting for Musk. I don't know. Musk is scheduled to speak at this World Government Summit. I haven't seen the clips yet, so maybe it happened already. I don't know. I don't think so, though. But we're waiting to see what Musk says there at the World Government Summit. I thought this one was funny right here. This chick's just goofy. So we'll have, I think tomorrow, what does it run anyway? I had their website up. I think I took it down. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it runs tomorrow too. So I'm more reporting about the World Government Summit. But here's this goofy chick right here. And, well, they say she does use a curse word and she says, excuse me. And so she, trigger warning, she says the F word, but it's pretty goofy. So I thought she doesn't even say it right. But anyway, this, for context, well, she says her name. Anyway, she's speaking at a Democrat union rally here yesterday, I think. I think it's pretty funny. And this show's not for kids.
I've been told I have 30 seconds, so I am going to tell you that we do have to, I don't swear in public very well, but we have to fuck Trump. Public very well, but we don't swear in public very well, but we have to fuck Trump. Children that I just did that.
That woman's so friggin', she didn't even say it right? Or maybe she did say it right. I don't know. These people are friggin' whacked out, man. Anyway, we have to F Trump, she said, not F Trump. So work on your public swearing, I guess. She's fun. Yeah, she is fun. She is fun. Pretty goofy. Okay. So a good thing that Trump did, I agree with this. They make you can't even buy freaking incandescent light bulbs anymore because they're all LED and they're all shit. They're all shit. I have one in my kitchen right now that it's like flickering, you know what I mean? Are they trying to like cause me to have a seizure? The things burn out. I bought a pack I don't know, a couple months back, the thing's burned out in like a week. Like, what is this garbage? But so Trump, a good thing that Trump did here now is Trump reinstates traditional light bulbs and water flow. I didn't even know it was a thing but apparently there's like a governor in your like shower head. I didn't even realize in newer shower heads. Trump has issued directives to the EPA to reverse Biden-era regulations concerning household appliances and lighting. These orders aim to bring back standards for incandescent light bulbs and increase water flow rates in various household fixtures, which were previously altered to promote energy efficiency and water conservation. I knew about the light bulbs with the stupid LEDs. You can't even find light bulbs anymore. And the fixtures, you can't even find fixtures that you can screw it in. They're like all permanent. You know what I mean? So it's like if your light fixture burns out, you have to replace the whole damn thing. rather than just simply unscrew it and how many bureaucrats at the EPA does it take to screw in a light bulb? Well, none, because you have to permanently affix it. You have to, literally do the hard wiring. And if you can get the screw-in light bulbs, then they burn out, and it's just a garbage product. And of course, the LED lights are not good for you health-wise. The blue, blue light, right? And it just goes on and on and on with garbage. So anyway, that's a good thing Trump did. And I didn't even realize that apparently they put governors in like your shower head, your sink faucets and whatnot. There's governors in there that restrict the water flow for water conservation, of course. And so they're rolling back those regulations. So I think that's a damn good thing that Trump did on that front anyway. Here's actually a statement about it. Let's go to that now. I am hereby instructing Secretary Lee Zeldin to immediately go back to my environmental orders, which were terminated by Crooked Joe Biden on water standards and flow pertaining to sinks, showers, toilets, washing machines, dryers, etc. And likewise, go back to the common sense standard light bulbs that were put in place by the Trump administration, but terminated by Crooked Joe. I look forward to signing these orders. Thank you. So that's a good thing. This flew under the radar. This was reported, flew under my radar at least, as we try to be news hounds here, Ruckus, and stay up on what the hell is going on. But they did hit us with this information overload last couple of weeks. But anyway, this was reported, 6 days ago here now. I think it's significant, so I'm going to report it to you here now. Trump taps Gerald Parker to be new head of pandemic office as bird flu threat grows. So we do indeed have a pandemic office with Gerald Parker at the head of it. So yeah, Congress created the White House Office of Pandemic Preparedness and Response Policy after the bat disease. So honestly, I don't know who this guy is, but it's probably worth looking into. Parker has worked for the Department of Defense. That's always a good thing. Health and Human Services and Homeland Security. And so, yeah. This is not good. Remember this guy, Jaha, out of under the Biden administration? He says, I've not been a fan of every choice that Donald Trump has made, and I've been very critical of many of them. This is a very good choice. So that makes me think it's not good at all. But for those news hounds and researchers, take a look into who this guy is. And I didn't even realize that there is indeed a White House Office of Pandemic Preparedness and Response Policy. So those are two things to keep an eye on as they continue to murder all of all of the birds out there due to the fraud PCRs. And so that's very thoughtful. Continuing here, when was this? Today, back to more current news. Trump signs new executive order defining DOGE. And so I guess we know this is from Tom Renz. Remember, I don't think we ever got any action. He was always suing during for the bat disease there, but they block everything with the PrEP Act. So anyhow, part of the DOGE definition to restore accountability to the American public. This order commences a critical transformation of federal bureaucracy by eliminating waste, bloat, and insularity. My administration will empower American families, workers, taxpayers, and our system of government itself. That's a quote out of the executive order there. But the problem is they're replacing it with AI. And, well, we know that, need I say more? The U.S. Department of State is poised to award Tesla a significant $400 million contract for supply of armored electric vehicles, as indicated by the department's procurement forecast updated in December of last year. The contract, spanning 5 years, marks one of the largest expected purchases of vehicles by the government intended to secure transportation needs. While this decision has sparked discussion around government spending and political favoritism, there is no direct evidence linking these concerns to the contract's allocation. I'm sure it's fine. What are these, like 100? These are over 100,000, these Cybertrucks. So you'll feel real good seeing government plates on a $100,000 Cybertruck, right? Right? I will. All praise Elon. Okay. DOJ files charges against New York immigration enforcement. The DOJ has filed charges against New York State, including Governor Kathy Hochul, Attorney General Letitia James, and DMV Commissioner Mark Schroeder. The charges stem from accusations that New York prioritizes the rights of illegal aliens over American citizens. The legal action reflects ongoing tensions between state policies favoring sanctuary for illegal aliens and federal immigration enforcement. Let's watch a short clip from Pam Bondi talking about it.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
This is too much. You would think, I thought is this a parody? They did put a community note on it, but this is one of these ones. Government oversight. Well, at a hearing today, the title of the post on X, it's just too much, right? They call him Director of Government Oversight, says he does not see widespread malicious waste from government spending. And of course, he's blind, but he's not the head. He's not the Director of Government Oversight. He is the Director of Government Affairs for an NGO called Project on Government Oversight. But he's blind. And so, come on, man. And I don't want to mock blind people, but really, come on.
Waste is different from fraud. Fraud is different from abuse, and abuse is different from both. When we talk about improper payments, they are a subset of those other three categories. But that doesn't tell us the whole picture either. Sometimes improper payments are a function of bad record keeping. Sometimes they are a function of outdated information technology systems. Sometimes they come about through human error, and sometimes they come about through negligence. There are a variety of reasons why improper payments happen. It just simply is not the case that improper payments are only a function of bad people doing bad things with bad intent.
So he doesn't see any I'm just going to leave it there. Remember, we reported on this when it happened, the FEMA employees that sent $59 million to fund illegal alien housing there in New York. Apparently, it's being reported now today that the Department of Homeland Security has recovered the $59 million previously allocated by FEMA to New York City for housing illegal aliens in hotels. This action followed the termination of 4 FEMA employees for making unauthorized payments. The Roosevelt Hotel involved in this controversy has been noted for housing members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aruga. So they got the money back, $59 million, and they did fire the 4 FEMA employees. And so Denver says these people, Trump, etc., they saved DC from reinvigorating the false two-party system polarization. I don't know, man. Maybe one party. It's already just the government, but the Democrats, again, just chasing their tail hoaxes. They could be going after them for real wrongdoings, but they go after they're mad. DOGE cutting down on government waste from like USAID. You could focus your energies in better places, I believe, but USAID Inspector General fired after critical report. Trump administration has fired Paul K. Martin, the Inspector General of the USAID, for 1 day after his office issued a report criticizing the administration's handling of the agency and warning about nearly $500 million in food aid at risk of spoilage due to funding freezers. This action has sparked discussions about the legality and implications of such dismissals, particularly in relation to the oversight of foreign aid. Pentagon under fire for high-price coffee cups and soap. The Department of Defense has come under scrutiny for what appears to be excessive spending on routine items. Reports have surfaced about the Pentagon spending $32,000 to replace just 25 coffee cups, which equates to roughly $1,280 per cup. Additionally, there have been instances of significant markups on items like soap dispensers, with which in one case showing an 8,000% overcharge. This has led to public outcry and calls for reform. Remember, what is it? The toilet seats and hammers. So yeah, if they ever did do an honest audit, we're still looking for 20 trillion, right? We're still looking for the 2.3 trillion plus adjusted for inflation and interest that Rumsfeld told us back before on 9/10/2000, right? We're still looking for that money. So yeah, $1,280 per coffee cup. Well, maybe if they're made out of the blood of children from foreign lands, it's worth it for the adrenochrome drinkers, right? Now it's back on again. On again, off again, on again, off again. All this stuff challenged in the court. Trump's deferred resignation program reinstated by a federal judge. And so then it was called off on Tuesday. And then what are we on today? Wednesday? And it's back on again? Trump, U.S. District Judge George O'Toole, what a tool, right? No. George O'Toole in Boston has ruled in favor of allowing President Trump's fork-in-the-road deferred resignation program to proceed. This program offers federal workers an incentive to resign, with over 70,000 now, it's being reported, employees taking up on the offer. So I guess 70,000 federal employees have resigned and taken Trump up on his offer, deferred resignation program. The decision overturns an earlier order that had temporarily blocked the initiative, stating the unions challenging the program lacked legal standing to sue. I thought this one was funny. Spike in legal searches in Washington, D.C. Recent reports indicate a significant increase in Google searches for criminal defense attorneys in Washington, D.C. compared to other regions. This trend has emerged around the time when government scrutiny and investigations by entities like DOGE have been discussed on social media. While the surge aligns with these events, the exact reason for the heightened interest in legal defense are not confirmed. Thought it was pretty funny, though, honestly. And these people really are stupid. Why are you going to search on Google? Anyhow, are we almost there to the end? Damn, there's a lot of news. We're at the 2-hour mark. And we have new viewers that have come online here on X, allegedly. The 2-hour mark. Let's do another plug, Barry. Thank you for not reminding me. No, just kidding. Okay, for the new viewers that have come on in the last hour, we've gone now another hour commercial free here on Weaponized News. And I'm going to cut right to the chase here for the people that have stayed with us the whole time. Our campaign here, since we're self-funded and funded through our generous audience, our campaign is to become monetized on YouTube, and we need to reach 3,000 hours watched, and we're almost there. And please go subscribe to our YouTube channel as well if you're on any of the other channels, X specifically, because it looks like, I don't know, we've had like 50 new viewers or more come on to X. So anyhow, go to our YouTube channel, please. It would be much appreciated. We're broadcasting, live streaming Monday through Friday here at 5 p.m. Pacific time, commercial free, except for our own campaigns that we run here. So the campaign now is to please go to Weaponized News YouTube channel, scroll to the bottom here. I'll show you exactly how to do it. Scroll to the bottom, push play on our 12 documentaries that we produced over, I want to say, the last 6-8 months, along with Simon as the narrator and the main researcher on these projects. And I'm the main producer. I am the producer. And so anyway, these documentaries educating you up about the new world order from the Russian and Chinese perspective. We have a BRICS documentary. We have the new nuclear doctrine from Russia, the new nuclear doctrine from the United States. We have a documentary about talking about the hypersonic missile, the Reznik, that Russia has rolled out in the last couple of months. We have the creating the multipolar world as we go into the new era of the new world order, a multipolar world. And so get educated up on these geopolitical matters, or simply push play, mute, and walk away and help us reach our threshold of 3,000 hours viewed in 365 days to help us become monetized on YouTube. Thank you very much. Okay, continuing in the how much more do we have? We still have more. This is going to turn into epic broadcast, as always, it seems, on this information overload of the Trump blitzkrieg, Trump-Putin deal to be negotiated, to negotiate Ukraine peace. And so where was it going to be? Saudi Arabia, I think I saw reported, where Trump is going to meet Vladimir, maybe, allegedly. This says, what does it say? The discussions have led to plans for mutual visits and intermediate negotiations with U.S. officials set to meet in Munich. And so hopefully they can get this done. This is from Simon, by the way, scrolling his X feed. NATO's mainsail, enhancing the security of critical undersea infrastructure through advanced data exploitation. And I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but the link, as always, all the links that I talk about on the show are on Weaponized News Substack in the sources section for those interested that want to do further research. Here's our Treasury Secretary, Besant, with old Zelensky.
President Zelensky will be meeting with Vice President Vance and Secretary Rubio in Munich. In the meantime, the government will review this document. We think the document is very important. The United States and Ukraine, we have shared values, we have shared security, and we would like to further intertwine our shared economics. And we believe that this is an important signal to the world, to the Russian leadership, that we stand together, and by increasing our economic commitment through a partnership with the government and the people of Ukraine, that it will provide, once this conflict is over, it will provide a long-term security shield for all Ukrainians.
That's exciting. Why aren't we making Ukraine the 51st state? As much money as we gave them. An act of goodwill, dare I say, by Russia, by Putin. Releasing American prisoner Mark Fogel. Let's watch this short clip with looks like this is like the olive branch. They're starting to, release American prisoners here to say, hey, look, I didn't kill him. And start negotiations up here. Let's watch this short clip with released American prisoner from Russia, Mark Fogel, and Trump.
And I also should make mention that President Putin was very generous and statesmanlike in granting me a pardon. I mean...
What were the terms of this deal, Mr. President?
Very fair, very, very fair, very reasonable. Not like deals you've seen over the years. They were very fair. And I think that's going to lead, and somebody else is being released tomorrow that you will know of. But we wanted to get this done, very important. And Steve wanted to actually fly over and get Mark and get him home properly, because it could be a pretty tough trip.
So is this the beginning of a deal, sir? Is this the start of?
I think there's goodwill in terms of the war. 1.5 million soldiers, young people have been killed.
I've met many of them.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing going on. So we want to get that done. I think this could be the very important element. You could be a big part of it, actually, because it could be a big, important part of getting the war over with Ukraine. And we appreciate President Putin's what he did. He was able to pull it off for you, right? He was able to pull it off. We think, and you're here.
An act of goodwill there. What do they say? Stop being mean to our Treasury Secretary, right? The whole system is that way. The whole system is fake and gay. Guys in the chat over there. Okay. There's another clip from Trump about Ukraine. We don't need to play that one. Yeah, it's looking good, hopefully. Really none of our damn business in the first place. As we continue to go over here on Weaponized News, they've been fighting over Ukraine, that piece of land, for ever, and they're cousins, and of course it was unprovoked, totally provoked. So yeah, we did a color revolution in Ukraine. They're funded in large part by USAID, the Orange Revolution. NATO put missiles right there on the border, And so, and then of course the bio labs there in Ukraine, and on it goes with mischievous behavior by the West right on Russia's border. And so, of course, Putin was unprovoked, and he's a tyrant maniac, the worst man in the world. But yeah, hopefully, let's hear from old. Now they're talking about, what are they gonna do with the land swap back and forth? Let's hear from Pete Hegseth here now, our Secretary of Defense, about this matter. Short clip. No audio on this. Oh, here we go.
Prosperous Ukraine. We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine. But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. A durable peace for Ukraine must include robust security guarantees to ensure that the war will not begin again. This must not be Minsk 3.0. That said, the United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5.
Stop unprovoking Putin. You know what I'm saying? Just saying. Stop unprovoking them. Here's a little bit more.
The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5. There also must be robust international oversight of the line of contact. To be clear, as part of any security guarantee, there will not be U.S. troops deployed to Ukraine.
Well, Pete Hegseth's obviously a stooge of Putin there. You can see that. Here's Zelensky. Here's Zelensky emphasizing the need to reserve Ukraine's rare earth minerals so that it doesn't go to Russia. And of course, we have BlackRock already has the contracts to rebuild what this guy's helped blow up as well. And so I'm sure the contracts to mine the rare earth minerals. And so, yeah, it's freaking awesome, dude.
Про конкретні гроші, корисні копалини, де ми можемо, і цього не було раніше, а ми можемо дати можливість вкладати і інвестувати в них нашим партнерам. Передусім американському бізнесу, американським компаніям. Разом можемо розробляти, разом видобуток, переробка. Це для нас робочі місця, це доходи для американських компаній, для американців, для українців, для європейців. Ми дуже відкриті, але про це потрібно предметно говорити. Ми почали показувати вже предметно, що у нас є. Так, для медіа, без засекречених об'ємів, але вони дуже серйозні. Як я наводив приклад щодо урану або титану, дивіться, ми найбільші, як мінімум, в Європі. На цьому континенті, в таких напрямках. І тому мені здається, що це дуже важливо захистити, щоб це не дісталось безкоштовно русським, або не дісталось іншим. А кому можуть віддати русські? Ірану або Північній Кореї можуть віддати за щось, за борги, за якусь підтримку і Китаю тощо. Тобто ми не готові просто так це віддавати. І мені здається, що з точки зору безпеки, і це дуже небажано, щоб це було під контролем тих чи інших союзників Росії. І мені здається, це не є в інтересах Сполучених Штатів. В інтересах Сполучених Штатів, щоб це було справедливо, контролювалося Україною і був доступ з західного світу нормальних цивілізованих партнерів.
Here's what Putin had to say. Putin says we're ready to meet with President Trump in person to discuss ending Ukraine war. Let's watch this short clip. Subtitles.
Нам лучше встретиться, опираясь на реалии сегодняшнего дня, поговорить спокойно по всем тем направлениям, которые представляют интерес как для США, так и для России. Мы готовы.
So maybe that unprovoked war is going to finally end here, hopefully. It's looking good right now. Maybe they'll do a false flag and keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So looking good. No, honestly, though, in all seriousness, I truly do hope that war ends and they stop killing people. Another war that's going on there, not even a war, the genocide, ethnic cleansing program in Aardvark land. Trump's double, triple down, quadruple down. He says that the United States is going to buy. I don't know who's he going to buy it from. I guess what do you do? Pay? What are they going to do? Pay the Palestinians for their land there? What if they don't want to sell? I guess you have to sell. It's a hostile land takeover here now, it appears. Here's Trump's message to. It appears there's pushback from in and around Jordan, but the king of Jordan, Abdullah, U.S. puppet. Well, let's hear Trump's message to the king of Jordan regarding taking Palestinians.
To the great people of Jordan, you're a spectacular group. I have to tell you, you're very, very fantastic people with tremendous brilliance and energy. I want to just say that you have a king who is a tremendous man. He's a leader. He's got a wonderful heart. He loves you so much. He loves his country. He's done amazingly. King Abdullah is one of the true great leaders of the world. And I just want to tell you, you're lucky to have him. And I say that from my heart. You are very, very lucky to have him. And God bless you all. You're going to have a great life. You have a great king.
Yeah, Ruckus, actually, it turns out it was about resources. Actually. Yeah. Democracy. Well, we're almost a year in, right? When since they're the greatest democratically elected president the world's ever known, Zelensky, has even had an election. What is it, March? So we're like, 11 months into him being a dictator, essentially. So it was about democracy. Then it became a dictatorship run by Nazis. And then it became about the resources. So funny how all of that seems to work out, isn't it? Okay. Maybe it's about democratization of resources. Yeah. The people of Ukraine are going to get a chunk of the action there. They're all going to get a bunch of shares in BlackRock. They're going to get stock options in BlackRock. That's how they're going to sort it all out for honesty and fairness. Okay. South Africa, unwavering in ICJ genocide case against aardvarks amidst Trump's threats. South Africa has reaffirmed its commitments to continue with its genocide case against aardvarks at the International Court of Justice Despite President Trump's threat to cut financial aid, the South African Minister of Justice and foreign ministers have both publicly stated their resolve to maintain the case, emphasizing the importance of upholding international law. Trump's administration has escalated tensions by accusing South Africa of racial issues and implementing measures like aid reduction. Here, sorry, no subtitles, but one of my favorite is still Smotrick, I think, of all the cartoon villain aardvarks. But this guy is my second favorite, I think. It's tough between him and Bibi. I'll say Ben Gvir is my second favorite. It's a short clip. Remember, he resigned in protest. I don't know why. It seems like due to political realignment, they're trying to wrangle up their whole crazy system over there, as Bibi, our shadow president, is facing his own corruption trial there in Aardvark land. But let's hear quickly from Ben Gvir in his phlegm-filled throat language. Sorry, no subtitles, but it's short, only 18 seconds here. He says, the time has come to destroy Hamas.
פשוט לא נתפס שהנשיא טראמפ נותן לישראל אור ירוק להילחם בחמאס, ממשלת ישראל מגמגמים. הגיע הזמן למלחמה עצימה, הגיע הזמן לעצור להם את הדלק, לעצור להם את ההומניטרי, להפסיק את מסעיות הסיוע. הגיע הזמן להשמיד את
There you go. A British, you guys are too funny in the comments here. Denver says one British colony is going to hold another British colony accountable for excessive colonization. Well, yeah, freaking racists. That's what needs to happen. Aardvark seek another extension. Aardvark seek another extension for Lebanon withdrawal, sources say. There's videos. There is no ceasefire. They're killing the hell out of people there in the West Bank. They're killing people in Lebanon. They're killing people in Gaza. They're killing people in the West Bank. They're still killing the hell out of people. But let me tell you, there's a ceasefire in the headlines. Aardvark Sea opening for strike on an Iranian nuclear site. Wow, that's what we really need. And then last one here, Aardvarks threaten all hell will break loose on Hamas in latest Gaza ceasefire crisis. There's not a ceasefire. So you can't have a ceasefire if you're still killing the hell out of them, and they are. All right? So, yeah. What is it? Trump said there'll be hell to pay if all the hostages are not released by Saturday. What more hell can they pay? They're killing the hell out of them already. I guess bomb the rubble. I don't know. They're killing them at the refugee camps. I mean, kill them all at the refugee camps? I don't know. How can they make it any worse? I'm sure they'll cook up something. I don't know. But so stay tuned for Saturday. All hell will break loose if the hostages are not released by Western intelligence. I mean, Jesus. Okay. We had a clip from Macron. Is it in English? Let's see. Macron says this is not a real estate operation. This is a political operation. Well, have you seen the map of Greater Aardvark land? Yeah, let's play this clip to wrap up the show of old Macron, the great hero of the Palestinian people. Former Rothschild banker as well.
Situation. So we have the ceasefire, we have to preserve it, we have to restore humanitarian operations, and we have to save maximum number of people. But now the right answer is not a real estate operation. This is a political operation. Just because this is not a free land, this is a place where 2 million people live and want to live. And just because international rights and a lot of treaties and agreements we negotiated, and even the US, did recognize this right. So you cannot say to 2 million people, okay, now, guess what? You will move. The whole story of humanity is made of tiny part of places where even less than 2 million people were ready to go till the end because they wanted just to stay. So I think we have to stick to our principles. Sometimes in this world, you have the feeling to be so old-fashioned when you speak about principles. But I will tell you, this is the humanity. And the civilization is a process. And the process of the civilization is that you learn generation after generation. And this is how you improve yourself. And we did learn that you can get rid of people and just push them out of their place when they have a legitimate right to live in their place, being recognized by everybody. So I think we have to respect the willingness of Palestinian people to have a state, and we have to respect Jordan, Egypt, these sovereign countries, because they want their security, they want to keep their borders.
Well, it is indeed ethnic cleansing that Trump is proposing there. Well, aardvarks are ethnic cleansing. I mean, that's what it is. Sorry to tell you. But, okay, that's all we have for today on Weaponized News. And then, of course, I think we can only do an hour, man, because this is becoming too long of a broadcast for me. But, wow, okay. This is broadcast The Money Masters here with Bill Still. It was broadcast in 1996. I think I saw it, I want to say like 2003 or 4, something like this on Google Video way back in the day when I was geeking out on economics and trying to learn all I could about it. Very well done, going over the whole history, exposing, going back, the money masters, the money changers. Same guys, central bank cartel, international central bank cartel, same families in control of the system today. And so I think it's well worth watching, and it's hard to find too now. They have deleted a lot of, stuff off the interwebs already, man. Let me tell you. So we'll use that for our closeout. We'll go an hour deep into it, as it is 3.5 hours long. And for those who haven't seen it, it's very, very well done and well worth the educational effort. We'll pick up and try to do another hour tomorrow, maybe longer. I don't know. We'll see how the news goes. Let me go over to the channels, though, first. And check them out, see if we got any good troll comments over here on the Odyssey. Who do I see there? Bob. Let's see, Bob, what do you got to say? Bob is always animated in his comments. Some can't be said on air here, but let's see. Some people got fired. Really? Finally? Yeah, that's true. Well, we need more than them being fired, Bob. We need arrests. These people have committed crimes. And if you and I commit those crimes, we're getting arrested and our ass is doing time in prison a long time. So we need arrest as the next step, not just firing them. We need arrest, prosecutions, and of course a jury trial by their peers, and so on, following the full legal process. But we need arrest because they've committed crimes in front of God and everybody, and that's what we need, more than just firing. Bob said, these people love the blood and guts of white people. Yeah. Well, yeah. in the Russia war there. For sure. Okay, thank you, Bob and Barry, also holding it down. Zero trolls tonight, he said, on the Odyssey. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning in on the Odyssey. Much appreciated. Over to the Rumble now. Let's see how that chat went. We had Carrie. Wow, quite a lively chat there. Thank you guys for keeping all that going. The what? Weaponized news hounds? Maybe. Weaponized news hounds. Kind of. I don't know. Does it rhyme? I don't know. I got to think about this. Weaponized news hounds. And then how do you brand it? With a dog biting the DOGE dog? Maybe. Carrie over there. Barry. Karen. MG. Bro, taking off the CC is the tits. I have a labor-intensive job, and it is not very comfortable. I'm sorry, MG. A couple of inches of snow today. Wow. Anyone else love 365? Avril Haines needs some prison time. Yeah, hell yeah. Carrie's hardcore. Carrie says on the Rumble, haven't eaten all day yet. News first. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I haven't eaten all day either. I drank a lot of coffee, though. I'll tell you that. Bourbon in the cup. Weaponized news on the screen. Wow, awesome. From MG, thank you guys. What else do we got? Karen, let's see. Anything from Karen? You guys are talking amongst yourself. Wow, quite a chat going on there. Serial killers used to be cool like Bundy, but now they're just a bunch of nerds like Fauci and Bill Gates. I added the Bill Gates part, but yeah. I don't know how cool Bundy was, honestly, but he got the chicks. He was a good-looking man that could seduce chicks to get in the car with him. That's sure. Wow, quite a chat going on there. Thank you, guys. Quite a chat on the Rumble. Thank you, guys. Weaponized news hounds. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on the Rumble. The Rockfin. Let's see. Barry, Denver, Trav Law. What did they send me? They put a link of something, a virus. Kim's music, huh? We didn't even have any music today. I didn't even know what to play. Simon was our music aficionado, I'm sure, as you guys have realized here. Yeah, I'll check this out. I'm not buying the vinyl. The digital track for $2. Is it worth £2? I don't even have £2. I'm in America. They probably take dollars. Anyway, I'll take a look at that. Trav, Denver made the leap over to the old YouTube. Thank you, Denver, for that. He's over here in the comments. Gene as well. What did Gene say? Clean up the information system so people aren't so propagandized. Jeez, you think? How about they all stop? How about they all say we want peace? Is that asking too much? I'm talking to all of them, right? Your conservative media, your quote liberal media, whatever slant they put on it. How about, is it too much for us to just say, hey, we don't care who it is, aardvarks, Ukrainians, freaking aliens, we don't care. USA, no more wars, peace. Stop pushing the war propaganda. We don't care if they have freaking nukes, if they got chemical weapons, all the just BS that we've seen that's been thoroughly exposed. The big push now, go after Iran. They're going to get nukes. Bullshit, man. Bullshit. Didn't they just sign that deal with Russia? Now they're aren't they under their security umbrella? I think they are. So an attack on Iran now would be underneath Russia's security umbrella. But these maniacs, I mean, I don't know how they have an audience. I don't know how we still have wars with our propaganda line media cheering it on. Just whatever story they make up, no more freaking wars, man. That should be our number one thing about all media. If you're pro-war, killing people, you're a piece of shit. You're part of, you're a war criminal. You're a propagandist for war profiteers, for the war machine. You have blood on your hands and on your soul if you're promoting any of these freaking wars. And they're all based on false pretenses, as history shows us again and again and again and again. Thank you, Sean, for tuning in there. Did he say only 7 countries are pushing AI? Only 7 are pushing the unified front, I guess, are unified on it. Everybody at that 190, whatever, are trying to push it, figure it out. But I think only 7 were saying they're unified on centralization of a framework for regulation on it. Sean, I think that's what they said in that document, if I can remember back to reading it. Let's see, San Diego, but Mexico, only a hop skipping away. Okay, thank you guys for tuning in on the old Rockfin BitChute again. As I say every broadcast, please email BitChute and ask them to integrate a chat feature into the live streaming. That would be good for audience interaction. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in on the X and the YouTube. Quite lively as always. Complicit and complacent, all guilty. Yeah. And some outright push it. They're outright push it. They're complicit. They're war propagandas, man. The Fox News is the worst of them. Honestly, the War Channel. Honestly, but they all do it. They all friggin' do it. You know what I mean? I think maybe Democracy Now, or Peaceniks on that channel, maybe, but that's not even mainstream at all, right? But like all your mainstream cable news, all your mainstream, they'll push whatever propaganda the government tells them. They're the government run by the freaking Operation Mockingbird. And so they're getting memos from the Pentagon. Here's the freaking whatever. They did this chemical weapon attack. They have nukes. They have this, that, and the other. And so we got to go kill a bunch of people. It's evil, man. It needs to stop. Okay. It's possible all AI efforts are tied to one master effort. Take BlackRock's Aladdin, for example, manages like 25 trillion, Denver says. Yeah, possibly. All right. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in on the YouTube. All the great chats going on all over the place. I'm just floating the idea out there. I'm liking ruckuses right now. Weaponized news hounds for a name for the community. But you guys let me know what you want to be named and go by. Something catchy we can brand. I don't know, make t-shirts, something. I'll make a graphic up. I like the hounds. I like the idea of the weaponized news hounds biting the DOGE dog. I don't know. You know what I mean? Just off the top of my head. But let me think about it. You guys give me some more ideas. And as always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and liberty. Speak on, take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. Here now, we'll be back here on Thursday edition of Weaponized News. And then don't forget, on Friday, we're going to have Thomas from Alpha Mega Energy join the broadcast once again. And so he's always interesting and informative. So we have that to look forward to on Friday. Tomorrow, it's just me again, but I'm sure we'll have a whole lot of news again. And once again, to close out the show, The Money Masters with Bill Still from 1996. And so our audience has probably already seen it, but again, hard to find. They delete this stuff all over the place. So enjoy The Money Masters, History of Fractional Reserve Banking, Monetary Policy, and Taxes for you economic nerds out there. Good to know about what we're up against here as we go into the fully digital system. Let's remember where we came from so we can see where we're going. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Wednesday edition of Weaponized News, and thank you, everybody, in the chats for keeping the community lively on those chats. And here is an hour of the Money Masters to play us out.
What's going on in America today? Why are we over our heads in debt? Why can't the politicians bring debt under control? Why are so many people, often both parents now, working at low-paying, dead-end jobs and still making do with less? What's the future of the American economy and way of life? Why does the government tell us inflation is low when the buying power of our paychecks is declining at an alarming rate? Only a generation ago, bread was a quarter, and you could get a new car for $19.95.
The problem is that since 1864, we've had a debt-based banking system. All our money is based on government debt. We cannot extinguish government debt without extinguishing our money supply. That's why talk of paying off the national debt without reforming our banking system is an impossibility. That's why the solution does not lie in discussing the size of the national debt, rather it lies in reforming our banking system. This is the Federal Reserve headquarters in Washington. It sits on this very impressive address, right on Constitution Avenue, right across from the Lincoln Memorial. But is it federal? Is it really part of the United States government? Well, what we're about to show you is that there's nothing federal about the Federal Reserve, and there are no reserves. The name is a deception created back before the Federal Reserve Act was passed in 1913 to make Americans think that America's central bank operates in the public interest. The truth is that the Federal Reserve is a private bank owned by private stockholders and run purely for their private profit.
That's exactly correct. The Fed is a privately owned for-profit corporation, which again has no reserves, at least no reserves available to back up the Federal Reserve notes, which is our common currency.
Oh, absolutely. The Federal Reserve is neither federal and has doubtful reserves. It's a private bank that is owned by member banks. And it was chartered under the guise of deceit by an act of Congress in 1913.
If there's still any doubt whether the Federal Reserve is a part of the U.S. government, check your local telephone book. In most cities, it is not listed in the blue government pages. It is listed in the business white pages right next to Federal Express, another private company. But more directly, U.S. courts have ruled time and time again that the Fed is a private corporation. Why can't Congress do something about the Fed? Most members of Congress just don't understand the system, and the few who do are afraid to speak up. For example, initially a veteran congressman from Chicago asked us if he could be interviewed for this video. However, both times our camera crew arrived at his office to do the interview, this was all we were able to film. The congressman never appeared, and eventually decided he no longer wanted to participate. But a few others in Congress have been bolder over the years. Here are 3 quick examples. In 1923, Representative Charles A. Lindbergh, a Republican from Minnesota, and father of the famed aviator Lucky Lindy, put it this way: The financial system has been turned over to the Federal Reserve Board. That board administers the finance system by authority of a purely profiteering group. The system is private, conducted for the sole purpose of obtaining the greatest possible profits from the use of other people's money. One of the most outspoken critics in Congress of the Fed was the former chairman of the House Banking and Currency Committee during the Great Depression years. Lewis T. McFadden, Republican of Pennsylvania, said in 1932, "We have in this country one of the most corrupt institutions the world has ever known. I refer to the Federal Reserve Board. This evil institution has impoverished the people of the United States and has practically bankrupted our government. It has done this through the corrupt practices of the moneyed vultures who control it." Senator Barry Goldwater was a frequent critic of the Fed. Most Americans have no real understanding of the operation of the international moneylenders. The accounts of the Federal Reserve System have never been audited. It operates outside the control of Congress and manipulates the credit of the United States.
The Federal Reserve really, even though it is not part of the federal government, it is more powerful than the federal government. It's more powerful than the President, the Congress, and the courts. Now, a lot of people challenge me on that, but let me prove my case. The Federal Reserve determines what the average person's car payment is going to be, what their house payment is going to be, and whether they have a job or not. And I submit to you that that's total control. And the Federal Reserve is the largest single creditor of the United States government. What does Proverbs tell us? The borrower is servant to the lender.
What one has to understand is that from the day the Constitution was adopted right up to today, the folks who profit from privately owned central banks, as Madison called them, the money changers, have fought a running battle for control over who gets to print America's money. Why is who prints the money so important? Think of money as just another commodity. If you have a monopoly on a commodity that everyone needs, everyone wants, and nobody has enough of, there are lots of ways to make a profit, and also exert tremendous political influence. That's what this battle is all about. Throughout the history of the United States, the money power has gone back and forth between Congress and some sort of privately owned central bank. The Founding Fathers knew the evils of a privately owned central bank. First of all, they had seen how the privately owned British central bank, the Bank of England, had run up the British national debt to such an extent that Parliament had been forced to place unfair taxes on the American colonies. In fact, as we'll see later, Ben Franklin claimed that this was the real cause of the American Revolution. Most of the Founding Fathers realized the potential dangers of banking and feared bankers' accumulation of wealth and power. Jefferson put it this way:
I sincerely believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs.
That succinct statement of Jefferson is, in fact, the solution to all our economic problems today. It bears repeating. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs. James Madison, the main author of the Constitution, agreed. Interestingly, he called those behind the central bank scheme money changers. Madison strongly criticized their actions.
History records that the money changers have used every form of abuse, intrigue, deceit, and violent means possible to maintain their control over governments by controlling money and its issuance.
The battle over who gets to issue our money has been the pivotal issue throughout the history of the United States. Wars are fought over it, depressions are caused to acquire it. Yet after World War I, this battle was rarely mentioned in newspapers or history books. Why? By World War I, the money changers, with their dominant wealth, had seized control of most of the nation's press. Throughout U.S. history, this battle over who gets the power to issue our money has raged. In fact, it's changed hands back and forth 8 times since 1764, yet this fact has virtually vanished from public view for over 3 generations behind a smokescreen emitted by Fed cheerleaders in the media. Until we stop talking about deficits and government spending and start talking about who controls how much money we have, it's all just a big shell game, a complete and utter deception. It won't matter if you pass an ironclad amendment to the Constitution mandating a balanced budget. Our situation is only going to get worse until we root out the cause at its source. What's the solution for our national problem? First of all, education. That's what this video presentation is all about. But secondly, we must act. We must take back the power to issue our own money. Issuing our own money is not a radical solution. I want to stress that. It's the same solution used at different points in U.S. history by men like Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, and Abraham Lincoln. So, to sum it up, in 1913, Congress gave an independent central bank, deceptively named the Federal Reserve, a monopoly over issuing America's money. And the debt generated by this quasi-private corporation is what is killing the American economy. Though the Federal Reserve is now the most powerful central bank in the world, it was not the first. So where did this idea come from? To really understand the magnitude of the problem, we have to travel back to Europe. Just who are these money changers James Madison spoke of? In the Bible, 2,000 years ago, Jesus drove the money changers from the temple. It was the only time Jesus used force during his ministry. What were money changers doing in the temple? When Jews came to Jerusalem to pay their temple tax, they could only pay it with a special coin, the half shekel of the sanctuary. This was a half ounce of pure silver about this size. It was the only coin around at that time which was pure silver and of assured weight without the image of a pagan emperor. Therefore, to Jews, the half shekel was the only coin acceptable to God. But these coins were not plentiful. The money changers had cornered the market on them. Then they raised the price, just like any other commodity, to whatever the market would bear. In other words, money changers were making exorbitant profits because they held a virtual monopoly on money. The Jews had to pay whatever they demanded. To Jesus, this totally violated the sanctity of God's house. But the money-changing scam did not originate in Jesus' day. 200 years before Christ, Rome was having trouble with money changers. 2 early Roman emperors had tried to diminish the power of the money changers by reforming usury laws and limiting land ownership to 500 acres. They were both assassinated. In 48 BC, Julius Caesar took back the power to coin money from the money changers and minted coins for the benefit of all. With this new, plentiful supply of money, he built great public works projects. By making money plentiful, Caesar won the love of the common man. But the money changers hated him. Some believe this was an important factor in Caesar's assassination. One thing is for sure, with the death of Caesar came the demise of plentiful money in Rome. Taxes increased, as did corruption. Just as in the case of America today, usury and debased coin became the rule. Eventually, the Roman money supply was reduced by 90%. As a result, the common people lost their lands and their homes, just as is about to happen soon in America. With the demise of plentiful money, the masses lost confidence in the Roman government and refused to support it. Rome plunged into the gloom of the Dark Ages. A 1,000 years after the death of Christ, money changers, those who loan out and manipulate the quantity of money, were active in medieval England. In fact, they were so active that acting together, they could manipulate the entire English economy. These were not bankers per se. The money changers generally were the goldsmiths. They were the first bankers because they started keeping other people's gold for safekeeping in their vaults. The first paper money was merely a receipt for gold left at the goldsmith. Paper money caught on because it was more convenient than carrying around a lot of heavy gold and silver coins. Eventually, goldsmiths noticed that only a small fraction of the depositors ever came in and demanded their gold at any one time. Goldsmiths started cheating on the system. They discovered that they could print more money than they had gold, and usually no one would be the wiser. Then they could loan out this extra money and collect interest on it. This was the birth of fractional reserve banking. That is, loaning out many times more money than you have assets on deposit. So, if $1,000 in gold were deposited with them, they could loan out about $10,000 in paper money and draw interest payments on it, and no one would ever discover the deception. By this means, goldsmiths gradually accumulated more and more wealth and used this wealth to accumulate more and more gold. Today, this practice of loaning out more money than there are reserves is known as fractional reserve banking. Every bank in the United States is allowed to loan out at least 10 times more money than they actually have. That's why they get rich on charging, let's say, 8% interest. It's not really 8% per year, which is their income. It's 80%. That's why bank buildings are always the largest in town. But does that mean that all interest or all banking should be illegal? Hardly. In the Middle Ages, canon law, the law of the Catholic Church, forbade charging interest on loans. This concept followed the teachings of Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas. They taught that the purpose of money was to serve the members of society, to facilitate the exchange of goods needed to lead a virtuous life. Interest, in their belief, hindered this purpose by putting an unnecessary burden on the use of money. In other words, interest was contrary to reason and justice. Reflecting church law in the Middle Ages, Europe forbade charging interest on loans and made it a crime called usury. As commerce grew, and therefore opportunities for investment arose in the late Middle Ages, it came to be recognized that to loan money had a cost for the lender, both in risk and in lost opportunity. So some charges were allowed, but not interest per se. But all moralists, no matter what religion, condemn fraud, oppression of the poor, and injustice as clearly immoral. As we will see, fractional reserve lending is rooted in a fraud, results in widespread poverty, and reduces the value of everyone else's money. The ancient goldsmiths discovered that extra profits could be made by rowing the economy between easy money and tight money. When they made money easier to borrow, then the amount of money in circulation expanded. Money was plentiful. People took out more loans to expand their businesses. But then the money changers would tighten the money supply. They would make loans more difficult to get. What would happen? Just what happens today. A certain percentage of people could not repay their previous loans and could not take out new loans to repay the old ones. Therefore, they went bankrupt and had to sell their assets to the goldsmiths for pennies on the dollar. The same thing is still going on today. Only today, we call this rowing of the economy up and down the business cycle. Like Julius Caesar, King Henry I of England finally resolved to take the money power away from the goldsmiths about 1100 AD. Henry could have used anything as money, seashells, feathers, or even yak dung, as is often done in remote Tibetan provinces. But he invented one of the most unusual money systems in history. It was called the tally stick system. Here I have one of the few surviving examples of this form of British money, which lasted 726 years until 1826, a tally stick. The tally system was adopted to avoid the monetary manipulation of the goldsmiths.
Tally sticks were money fabricated out of sticks of polished wood. Notches were cut along one edge of the stick to indicate the denominations.
Then the stick was split lengthwise through the notches so that both pieces still had a record of the notches.
The king kept one half to protect against counterfeiting. Then he would spend the other half into the economy, and they would circulate as money. This particular tally stick is huge. It represented 25,000 pounds. One of the original stockholders in the Bank of England purchased his original shares with this stick. In other words, he bought shares in the world's richest and most powerful corporation with a stick of wood. It's ironic that after its formation in 1694, the Bank of England attacked the tally stick system because it was money outside the power of the money changers, just as King Henry had wanted it to be.
Why do people accept sticks of wood for money? That's a great question. Throughout history, people traded anything they thought had value and used as money. You see, the secret is that money is only what people agree on to use as money. What's our paper money today? It's really just paper. But here's the trick. King Henry ordered that tally sticks had to be used to pay the king's taxes. This built-in demand for tally sticks immediately made them circulate and be accepted as money. And they worked well. In fact, no other form of money has worked so well for so long as tally sticks.
Keep in mind, the British Empire was built under the tally stick system.
The tally stick system succeeded despite the fact that the money changers constantly attacked it by offering the metal coin system as competition. In other words, metal coins never went completely out of circulation, but tally sticks hung on because they were good for the payment of taxes.
Finally, in the 1500s, King Henry VIII relaxed the laws concerning usury, and the money changers wasted no time reasserting themselves. They quickly made their gold and silver money plentiful for a few decades. But when Queen Mary took the throne and tightened the usury laws again, the money changers renewed the hoarding of gold and silver coins, forcing the economy to plummet. When Queen Mary's sister, Queen Elizabeth I, took the throne, she was determined to regain control over English money. Her solution was to issue gold and silver coins from the public treasury and take the control over the money supply away from the money changers. Although control over money was not the only cause of the English Revolution in 1642, religious differences fueled the conflict. Monetary policy played a major role. Financed by the money changers, Oliver Cromwell finally overthrew King Charles, purged the Parliament, and put the king to death. The money changers were immediately allowed to consolidate their financial power. The result was that for the next 50 years, the money changers plunged Great Britain into a series of costly wars. They took over a square mile of property in the center of London, known as the City of London. This area today is still known as one of the 3 predominant financial centers of the world. Conflicts with the Stuart kings led the money changers in England to combine with those in the Netherlands to finance the invasion of William of Orange, who overthrew the Stuarts in 1688 and took the English throne.
By the end of the 1600s, England was in financial ruin. 50 years of more or less continuous wars with France and Holland had exhausted her.
Frantic government officials met with the money changers to beg for the loans necessary to pursue their political purposes. The price was high: a government-sanctioned, privately owned bank which could issue money created out of nothing. It was to be the modern world's first privately owned central bank. the Bank of England. Although it was deceptively called the Bank of England to make the general population think it was part of the government, it was not. Like any other private corporation, the Bank of England sold shares to get started. The investors, whose names were never revealed, were supposed to put up £1.25 million British pounds in gold coin to buy their shares in the bank, but only £750,000 was ever received. Despite that, the bank was duly chartered in 1694 and started out in the business of loaning out several times the money it supposedly had in reserves, all at interest.
In exchange, the new bank would loan British politicians as much of the new currency as they wanted, as long as they secured the debt by direct taxation of the British people.
So, legalization of the Bank of England amounted to nothing less than legal counterfeiting of a national currency for private gain. Unfortunately, nearly every nation now has a privately controlled central bank using the Bank of England as the basic model. Such is the power of these central banks that they soon take total control over a nation's economy. It soon amounts to nothing but a plutocracy ruled by the rich. It would be like putting control of the army in the hands of the mafia. The danger of tyranny would be extreme.
Yes, we need central banks. No, we do not need them in private hands.
The central bank scam is really a hidden tax. The nation sells bonds to the central bank to pay for things it does not have the political will to raise taxes to pay for. But the bonds are purchased with money the central bank creates out of nothing. More money in circulation makes your money worth less. The government gets as much money as it needs, and the people pay for it in inflation. The beauty of the plan is that not one person in 1,000 can figure it out because it's usually hidden behind complex-sounding economics gibberish. With the formation of the Bank of England, the nation was soon awash in money. Prices throughout the country doubled. Massive loans were granted for just about any wild scheme. One venture proposed to drain the Red Sea to recover gold supposedly lost when the Egyptian army drowned pursuing Moses and the Israelites. By 1698, government debt grew from the initial £1.25 million to £16 million. Naturally, taxes were increased and then increased again to pay for all of this. With the British money supply firmly in their grip, the British economy began a wild roller coaster series of booms and depressions, exactly the sort of thing a central bank claims it is determined to prevent.
There are two things which I think are intrinsic not just to the Bank of England, but to central banking generally. The first is an involvement in the formulation of monetary policy with the specific objective of achieving monetary stability.
However, since the Bank of England took control, the British pound has rarely been stable. Now let's take a look at the role of the Rothschild family, the family said to be the wealthiest in the world. This is Frankfurt, Germany. 50 years after the Bank of England opened its doors, a goldsmith named Amschel Moses Bauer opened a coin shop, a counting house, in 1743. And over the door he placed a sign depicting a Roman eagle on a red shield. The shop became known as the Red Shield Firm, or in German, Rothschild. When his son, Amschel Meyer Bauer, inherited the business, he decided to change his name to Rothschild. Amschel soon learned that loaning money to governments and kings was more profitable than loaning to private individuals. Not only were the loans bigger, but they were secured by the nation's taxes. Mayer Rothschild had 5 sons.
He trained them all in the skills of money creation, then sent them out to the major capitals of Europe to open branch offices of the family banking business. His first son, Amschel Meyer, stayed in Frankfurt to mind the hometown bank. His second son, Solomon, was sent to Vienna. His third son, Nathan, was clearly the most clever. He was sent to London at age 21 in 1798, 100 years after the founding of the Bank of England. His fourth son, Karl, went to Naples, and his fifth son, Jacob, went to Paris. In 1785, Mayor Amschel moved his entire family to this larger house, a 5-story dwelling he shared with the Schiff family. This house was known as the Green Shield. The Rothschilds and the Schiffs would play a central role in the rest of European financial history and in that of the United States.
The Rothschilds broke into dealings with European royalty here at Wilhelmshof, the palace of the wealthiest man in Germany. In fact, the wealthiest monarch in all Europe, Prince William of Hesse-Kassel.
At first, the Rothschilds were only helping William speculate in precious coins. But when Napoleon chased Prince William into exile, he sent 550,000 pounds, a gigantic sum at that time, to Nathan Rothschild in London with instructions for him to buy consols, British government bonds, also called government stock. But Rothschild used the money for his own purposes. With Napoleon on the loose, the opportunities of wartime investments were nearly limitless.
William returned here sometime prior to the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. He summoned Rothschild and demanded his money back.
The Rothschilds returned William's money with the interest the British consuls would have paid him had the investment actually been made. But the Rothschilds kept all the past profits they had made using William's money. Nathan Rothschild later bragged that in the 17 years he'd been in England, he'd increased his original 20,000 pound stake given to him by his father by 2,500 times.
By cooperating within the family, the Rothschilds soon grew unbelievably wealthy. By the mid-1800s, they dominated all European banking and were certainly the wealthiest family in the world.
They financed Cecil Rhodes, making it possible for him to establish a monopoly over the diamond and gold fields of South Africa. In America, they financed the Harrimans and railroads, the Vanderbilts and railroads and the press, and Carnegie in the steel industry, among many others.
In fact, during World War I, J.P. Morgan was thought to be the richest man in America. But after his death, it was discovered that he was actually only a lieutenant of the Rothschilds.
Once Morgan's will was made public, it was discovered that he owned only 19% of J.P. Morgan companies. By 1850, James Rothschild, the heir of the French branch of the family, was said to be worth 600 million French francs, 150 million more than all the other bankers in France put together.
He built this mansion called Ferrier, just east of Paris.
Wilhelm I, on seeing it, exclaimed, "Kings couldn't afford this. It could only belong to a Rothschild." Another 19th century French commentator put it this way: "There is but one power in Europe, and that is Rothschild." There is no evidence that their predominant standing in European or world finance has changed.
Now let's take a look at the results the Bank of England had produced on the British economy and how that later was the root cause of the American Revolution. By the mid-1700s, the British Empire was nearing its height of power around the world. But Britain had fought 4 costly wars in Europe since the creation of their privately owned central bank, the Bank of England. The cost had been high. To finance these wars, the British Parliament here had borrowed heavily from the bank. By the mid-1700s, the government's debt here in Britain was 140 million pounds, a staggering sum for those days. Consequently, the British government embarked on a program of trying to raise revenues from their American colonies in order to make their interest payments to the bank. But in America, it was a different story. The scourge of a privately owned central bank had not yet hit. This is Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where the Declaration of Independence and Constitution were signed. In the mid-1700s, pre-revolutionary America was still relatively poor. There was a severe shortage of precious metal coins to trade for goods, so the early colonists were forced to experiment with printing their own homegrown paper money. Some of these experiments were successful. Franklin was a big supporter of the colonies printing their own paper money.
In 1757, Franklin was sent to London. He ended up staying for the next 18 years here, nearly until the start of the American Revolution. During this period, the American colonies began to issue their own money. Called colonial scrip, the endeavor was very successful. It provided a reliable medium of exchange, and it also helped to provide a feeling of unity between the colonies. Remember, colonial scrip was just paper money, debt-free money, printed in the public interest, and not backed by gold or silver coin. In other words, it was a totally fiat currency. One day, officials of the Bank of England asked Franklin how he would account for the newfound prosperity of the colonies. Without hesitation, he replied,
"That is simple. In the colonies we issue our own money. It is called colonial scrip. We issue it in proper proportion to the demands of trade and industry to make the products pass easily from the producers to the consumers. In this manner, creating for ourselves our own paper money, we control its purchasing power, and we have no interest to pay to no one."
This was just common sense to Franklin, but you can imagine the impact it had on the Bank of England. America had learned the secret of money, and that genie had to be returned to its bottle as soon as possible.
As a result, Parliament hurriedly passed the Currency Act of 1764. This prohibited colonial officials from issuing their own money and ordered them to pay all future taxes in gold or silver coins. In other words, it forced the colonies on a gold or silver standard. For those who still believe that a gold standard is the answer for America's current monetary problems, look what happened to America after that. Writing in his autobiography, Franklin said,
"In 1 year, the conditions were so reversed that the era of prosperity ended and a depression set in to such an extent that the streets of the colonies were filled with unemployed."
Franklin claims that this was even the basic cause for the American Revolution.
As Franklin put it in his autobiography,
"The colonies would gladly have borne a little tax on tea and other matters had it not been that England took away from the colonies their money, which created unemployment and dissatisfaction. The inability of the colonists to get the power to issue their own money permanently out of the hands of George III and the international bankers was the prime reason for the Revolutionary War."
by the time the first shots were fired in Lexington, Massachusetts, on April 19, 1775, the colonies had been drained of gold and silver coin by British taxation. As a result, the Continental government had no choice but to print money to finance the war. At the start of the revolution, the U.S. money supply stood at $12 million. By the end of the war, it was nearly $500 million. As a result, the currency was virtually worthless. Shoes sold for $5,000 a pair. Colonial scrip had worked because just enough was issued to facilitate trade. As George Washington lamented, a wagon load of money will scarcely purchase a wagon load of provisions.
Today, those who support a gold-backed currency point to this period during the Revolution to demonstrate the evils of a fiat currency. But remember, the same currency had worked so well 20 years earlier during times of peace that the Bank of England had Parliament outlaw it. Towards the end of the Revolution, the Continental Congress, meeting here at Independence Hall, grew desperate for money. In 1781, they allowed Robert Morris, their financial superintendent, to open a privately owned central bank. Incidentally, Morris was a wealthy man who had grown wealthier during the Revolution by trading in war materials.
Called the Bank of North America, the new bank was closely modeled after the Bank of England. It was allowed to practice fractional reserve banking. That is, it could lend out money it didn't have, then charge interest on it. If you or I were to do that, we would be charged with fraud, a felony.
The bank's charter called for private investors to put up $400,000 worth of initial capital. But when Morris was unable to raise the money, he brazenly used his political influence to have gold deposited in the bank, which had been loaned to America by France.
He then loaned this money to himself and his friends to reinvest in shares of the bank. And, like the Bank of England, the bank was given a monopoly over the national currency. Soon the dangers became clear. The value of American currency continued to plummet. So, 4 years later, in 1785, the bank's charter was not renewed. The leader of the effort to kill the bank, William Findley of Pennsylvania, explained the problem this way, quote, "This institution, having no principle but that of avarice, will never be varied in its object, to engross all the wealth, power, and influence of the state." The men behind the Bank of North America, Alexander Hamilton, Robert Morris, and the bank's president, Thomas Whiling, did not give up. Only 6 years later, Hamilton, then Secretary of the Treasury, and his mentor, Morris, rammed a new privately owned central bank through the new Congress.
Called the first bank of the United States, Thomas Whiling again served as the bank's president. The players were the same, only the name of the bank was changed.
In 1787, colonial leaders assembled in Philadelphia to replace the ailing Articles of Confederation. As we saw earlier, both Thomas Jefferson and James Madison were unalterably opposed to a privately owned central bank. They had seen the problems caused by the Bank of England.
They wanted nothing of it. As Jefferson later put it,
if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and the corporations which grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered.
during the debate over the future monetary system, another one of the founding fathers, Gouverneur Morris, castigated the motivations of the owners of the Bank of North America.
Gouverneur Morris headed the committee that wrote the final draft of the Constitution. Morris knew the motivations of the bank well. Along with his old boss, Robert Morris, Gouverneur Morris and Alexander Hamilton were the ones who had presented the original plan for the Bank of North America to the Continental Congress in the last year of the Revolution. In a letter he wrote to James Madison on July 2nd, 1787, Gouverneur Morris revealed what was really going on.
The rich will strive to establish their dominion and enslave the rest. They always did. They always will. They will have the same effect here as elsewhere if we do not, by the power of government, keep them in their proper spheres.
Despite the defection of Gouverneur Morris from the ranks of the bank, Hamilton, Robert Morris, Thomas Whiling, and their European backers were not about to give up. They convinced the bulk of the delegates to the Constitutional Convention to not give Congress the power to issue paper money. Most of the delegates were still reeling from the wild inflation of the paper currency during the Revolution. They had forgotten how well colonial scrip had worked before the war. But the Bank of England had not. The money changers could not stand to have America printing her own money again.
So the Constitution is silent on the matter. This grievous defect left the door wide open for the money changers, just as they had planned. In 1790, less than 3 years after the Constitution had been signed, the money changers struck again. The newly appointed first Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, proposed a bill to the Congress calling for a new, privately owned central bank. Coincidentally, that was the very year that Amschel Rothschild made his pronouncement from his flagship bank in Frankfurt.
Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws.
Alexander Hamilton was a tool of the international bankers, and he wanted to create the U.S. Bank, the BUS, or the Bank of the United States, and did so.
Interestingly, one of Hamilton's first jobs after graduating from law school in 1782 was as an aide to Robert Morris, the head of the Bank of North America. In fact, the year before, Hamilton had written Morris a letter saying, "A national debt, if it is not excessive, will be to us a national blessing." A blessing to whom?
After a year of intense debate, in 1791, Congress passed the bill and gave it a 20-year charter. The new bank was to be called the First Bank of the United States, or BUS. Here we are in front of the First Bank of the United States in Philadelphia. The bank was given a monopoly on printing U.S. currency, even though 80% of its stock would be held by private investors. The other 20% would be purchased by the U.S. government. But the reason was not to give the government a piece of the action. It was to provide the capital for the other 80% owners. As with the old Bank of North America and the Bank of England before that, the stockholders never paid the full amount for their shares. The U.S. government put up their initial $2 million in cash. Then the bank, through the old magic of fractional reserve lending, made loans to its charter investors so they could come up with the remaining $8 million of capital needed for this risk-free investment.
Like the Bank of England, the name of the Bank of the United States was deliberately chosen to hide the fact that it was privately controlled. And like the Bank of England, the names of the investors in the bank were never revealed. Many years later, it was a common saying that the Rothschilds were the power behind the old Bank of the United States.
The bank was sold to Congress as a way to bring stability to the banking system and eliminate inflation. So what happened? Over the first 5 years, the U.S. government borrowed $8.2 million from the Bank of the United States. In the same 5-year period, prices rose by 72%. Jefferson, as the new Secretary of State, watched the borrowing with sadness and frustration, unable to stop it.
I wish it were possible to obtain a single amendment to our Constitution, taking from the federal government the power of borrowing.
Millions of Americans feel the same way today. They watch in helpless frustration as the federal government borrows the American economy into oblivion. So, although it was called the first bank of the United States, it was not the first attempt at a privately owned central bank in this country. As with the Bank of North America, the government put up most of the cash to get this private bank going, then the bankers loaned the money to each other to buy the remaining stock in the bank. It was a scam, plain and simple, and they wouldn't be able to get away with it for long. But first, we have to travel back to Europe to see how a single man was able to manipulate the entire British economy by obtaining the first news of Napoleon's final defeat. Here in Paris, the Bank of France was organized in 1800, just like the Bank of England. But Napoleon decided France had to break free of debt, and he never trusted the Bank of France. He declared that when a government is dependent upon bankers for money, the bankers, not the leaders of the government, are in control.
The hand that gives is above the hand that takes. Money has no motherland. Financiers are without patriotism and without decency. Their sole object is gain.
Back in America, unexpected help was about to arrive. In 1800, Thomas Jefferson narrowly defeated John Adams to become the third president of the United States. By 1803, Jefferson and Napoleon had struck a deal. The U.S. would give Napoleon $3 million in gold in exchange for a huge chunk of territory west of the Mississippi River, the Louisiana Purchase. With that $3 million, Napoleon quickly forged an army and set off across Europe, conquering everything in his path. But the Bank of England quickly rose to oppose him. They financed every nation in his path, reaping the enormous profits of war. Prussia, Austria, and finally Russia all went heavily into debt in a futile attempt to stop Napoleon. 4 years later, with the main French army in Russia, 30-year-old Nathan Rothschild, the head of the London office of the Rothschild family, personally took charge of a bold plan to smuggle a much-needed shipment of gold right through France to finance an attack by the Duke of Wellington from Spain. Nathan later bragged at a dinner party in London that it was the best business he'd ever done. Little did he know that he would do much better business in the near future. Wellington's attacks from the south and other defeats eventually forced Napoleon to abdicate, and Louis XVIII was crowned king. Napoleon was exiled to Elba, a tiny island off the coast of Italy, supposedly exiled from France forever. While Napoleon was in exile on Elba, temporarily defeated by England with the financial help of the Rothschilds, America was trying to break free of its central bank as well. In 1811, a bill was put before Congress to renew the charter of the Bank of the United States. The debate grew very heated, and the legislatures of both Pennsylvania and Virginia passed resolutions asking Congress to kill the bank. The press corps of the day attacked the bank openly, calling it a great swindle, a vulture, a viper, and a cobra. Oh, to have an independent press once again in America. A congressman named P.B. Porter attacked the bank from the floor of Congress, saying if the bank's charter was renewed, Congress, quote, will have planted in the bosom of this Constitution a viper, which one day or another will sting the liberties of this country to the heart, close quote. Prospects didn't look that good for the bank. Some writers have even claimed that Nathan Rothschild warned that the United States would find itself involved in a most disastrous war if the bank's charter were not renewed. But it wasn't enough. When the smoke had cleared, the renewal bill was defeated by a single vote in the House and was deadlocked in the Senate. By now, America's fourth president, James Madison, was in the White House. Remember,
Madison was a staunch opponent of the bank. His vice president, George Clinton, broke a tie in the Senate and sent the bank into oblivion.
Within 5 months, England attacked the U.S., and the War of 1812 was on. But the British were still busy fighting Napoleon, and so the War of 1812 ended in a draw in 1814. Though the money changers were temporarily down, they were far from out. It would take them only another 2 years to bring back their bank bigger and stronger than ever. But now, let's return to Napoleon.